welcome to another episode of the Community Corner podcast for the month of October. 'Tis I, Shannen, the anime misfit, your most zany and brainy and those who hate the 7-Elevens at 3 a.m. Joining me as always is my cohort, my editor, and the guy who should really be putting peanut butter on his Animal Crossing island, because seriously, man, get on with that. Lamp!
I don't know whether peanut butter's on that game. Maybe. Somewhere.
Or is it? Or maybe I just bullshitted that so to get you to reaction. But you know, we're not bullshitting today's guest. We have Noxris! Woo!
Woo!
Did you say you don't like 7-Eleven at 3 a.m.?
I mean, I'm more of a 7-Eleven at 4 a.m. type of gal.
7-Eleven anytime is still 7-Eleven. It's God's given.
No, there's a
gift that
difference.
Gave to us.
There's a difference, man. There is a difference. There's 3 a.m. 7-Eleven, and then there's 4 a.m. 7-Eleven. There's two camps you can stand on, and I stand in the latter.
So you can go in at 7-Eleven at 3 a.m. and get yourself some chicken wings, or you can go to 7-Eleven at 4 a.m. and still get some chicken wings.
That's not the point. It depends on who's at the counter at 7-Eleven at 3 a.m. to 4
Who
a.m.
changes shifts at 3 a.m. to 4 a.m.?
Your mom. That's what it is.
My mom works at Shoppers Drug Mart.
Oh, which is regional, but 7-Eleven is not.
Fuck.
It's national, baby.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Anyways, how's everyone doing today?
Good. How are you, our esteemed guest? Tell the audience who you are and what you do on the YouTubes.
I'm Nox. I kind of just make anime reviews. I've kind of been editing for a really long time, so I try to put a lot of focus on the editing to an extent. Not that it's the only part of my videos I think are worth watching. It's just that they're the thing I'm most proud of, I'd say, is the editing. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching you for a while, since, like, the ping pong animation video.
Mm-hmm.
And, personally, I like the cars one the best, or the fishing one. I can't tell which one I like the most, but,
Yeah, those two are my favorites.
I thought the cars one was very intuitive, and I'm like, hey, you get more views per videos than we do. We're lucky to break 100, man.
Yeah, I'm thankful I have so much support for that. I'd say it's mainly because of Discord. Either that or I'm just lucking out at this point. But definitely
you
when
make
I started
good content. You should be proud of it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I definitely am proud of it. But I guess if any of the people from Discord that have been supporting me so hard for the whole time are watching this, shout out to you guys. Because especially when I first started, as soon as I'd upload, I'd just have like a flurry of like 20, 30 people that I hung out with on a daily basis come to support me. So that was probably one of the most important things to kickstarting the channel too. I mean, obviously it's not like an insane success, but it's doing fucking good.
Yeah,
doing pretty good, baby.
All we ask for is more views than the subscribers we have. Like our channel is like, we get very low views, but we're getting better with the consistency, aren't we, Lamp?
Yeah, I'd say we are.
I mean, can't complain here. I mean, we're vibing mostly at this point. Shabes told us we make very bizarre content. And that's exactly what I want, baby. So let's move on to today's topic of the month. I thought today we do something pretty chill compared to all like the really heavy stuff. Last month we did piracy. So this month we're going to be talking about anime genres. Specifically, anime genres talked about in general versus anime topics talked about on YouTube. I really do think that in general, that when it comes to like the anime genre, regardless if it's demographic or a subgenre, how you enjoy it and how you talk about it with your bros is way different than how you talk about it to an audience. Would either of you say yes or yay or nay to that?
I mean, I only really have two friends that I've ever talked about anime with in real life. Mainly because the rest of them thought it was weird, but the other two are pretty cool. I definitely talk about it differently though. Mainly if I'm talking with my real life friends, it'll be pretty surface level and just getting hype about the new My Hero episode. Because they don't watch anything else because they're lazy. But on YouTube, I can actually kind of pop off and go a bit more into detail on what I liked about shows. And obviously, I'm not some 200 IQ genius who's rating like Nuxtaku analysis about Gintama, but I can make quick little 5-minute reviews and try to share the experience that I had with it with you through editing and stuff like that. And that's what I try to do, I guess, is transfer whatever emotions I had through the video, not just with my script, but with pretty much any tool I have.
I mean, I tend to actually, one of my coworkers is actually one of my big, like, the only people I talk with anime that we actually like critique the hell out of a lot of shows. And actually we actually have some pretty in-depth conversations at work, mostly out of desperation, but also the fact that we both are pretty decently, he's a lot more avid of anime watcher than I am, so it's like I can have like one guy but the rest of them I just really didn't mention it because they watch anime, but they were like, yeah, watch that, and I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, could be me. I'm unfortunate enough to not have. I've never met anybody who's watched more than like 10 shows, other than on Discord, obviously.
Yeah, on Discord, you'll find a lot of us hobos just watch 20, 30 anime. I've lost count to how many anime I've watched over the years. Too
Yeah.
many, man.
I'd
Too
say it's
many.
probably because I'm in Redneck Central and have been my whole life, so definitely not many
no.
people around here know about that kind of stuff.
We talking middle redneck or south redneck? Because I'm with you
Oh,
on
I
that,
mean,
bro,
well, I'm
man.
from Canada, so
Oh,
yeah.
Canadian.
Whatever Canadian rednecks, they fucking drink pilsners and wear plaid jackets, so it's a bit scarier.
Pilsners. Pilsners.
Yeah, they will fuck you up with their oil rigger
Okay.
trucks. It's kind of scary, dude.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Anyway, so like for the very few times of me paying attention on this goddamn podcast, I come to you, Anitube, and viewers alike. I make the personal argument, that the genre we talk about in Anitube might not fully reflect how we feel about the genres you talk about with the bros or just in general. And not with every genre, but I feel like with me personally, some genres we're gonna talk about today have like a very interesting duality. And there are various reasons. I don't think they're good or bad. I just feel like it's there and I want to talk about it. So how today's talk is going to go, because I actually got organized on this shit for once. We're gonna talk about genres based on like popularity. Or when I say based on popularity, I mean I thought of like through otaku instinct have different sections, and I put genres in sections based on like how I thought they were popular. Starting with demographic genres, which are the one exception to this rule, because you can't not talk about anime genres without talking about demographic first. That's way different from talking about the subgenres. Then we'll talk about subgenres that are popular, followed by subgenres that are kind of normal, like you kind of talk about it, and depending on what niche you have, you're probably gonna hear more about it from other people or your friends or whatever. And then we're gonna talk about genres that I personally think don't get talked about as much anymore for various reasons. So we good? We good. So demographic genres, pretty self-explanatory. They're genres based on who you are, like physically, like if you're a bro, you're a gal. I mean, if you identify as a something in the LGBT community, congratulations. And second, you can do what you want. I'm being major kino about it. But I do think that like it's pretty obvious to say that genre, when you think of anime based on demographic, it's definitely a different animal than thinking about it certainly by the subgenre like isekai or sports anime or slice of life. Would you say so, Noxris?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I'm looking at these 4 demographic genres that you have listed here, and I fucking love Shonen. I just got into Shoujo. No clue what the fuck the other 2 are, though, so you're gonna have to explain that to me.
Yeah, we'll explain it to you when I'll explain it to you when we get to it. So let's start with the
seen that word in my life.
So we'll start with the good old easy one. We'll start with shonen. Shonens for boys around like, if you're over the age of 10, you're like, it's supposed to be marketed to if you're like over the age of 10 to you're like 17, 18. That's pretty much the gist of it. And the typical suspects of a shonen anime are your One Pieces, your Big Threes, your My Hero Akas,
the macadamia nuts,
your macadamia nuts, your haikus, anything that invokes that shonen arc. Now, there are arguments about certain series, like certain franchises like Jojo's being a shonen.
I wouldn't say it's a shonen.
I wouldn't say it's a shonen because of its big brain plays, but we'll get to that when we get to
I
Seinen.
feel like my 12-year-old sister would be able to watch Jojo just fine.
Yeah, so like, now does that mean with demographic genres, does that have to mean you have to be the genre to watch it? No, obviously, that's dumb.
Yeah, I'm a 12-year-old dude just got into Magical Girl.
let's start with talking about shonen to your friends. So since I've talked so much, I'll let you two go first. So how do you guys talk about shonens, or you feel about shonens just by yourself or with your friends?
I'll let LampLight go first because I haven't really heard much from him.
Shonen's. I don't really. Like, I'm not like the heaviest into like one genre over the other. Like, I don't have a favorite one, but if something happens to be shonen, I don't think, for me at least, or me and the people I talk to, it doesn't have as much of an impact. Like, I'll talk about my Hero Acca, but it's less about like, oh my god, you see that character, and then we're talking more about like, yeah, that the episode was kind of structured weird, and like we just kind of look at each episode separately or each show separately. I think we didn't really get onto the shonen hype train as much, so we're just like, yeah, it's a thing. But we really didn't get too far into beyond that. So my opinion on that one's kind of, it's like neutral, but in a good way.
For me, I guess, like I said, my friends don't really watch too much, so whenever I get to watch or I guess talk about shonen with them, it's more of a surface level kind of conversation. Uh, I guess mainly whatever I've done whenever we talk about shonen is just get really hyped over whatever happened, especially if we watch it together. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen those memes on Instagram of dudes just absolutely losing their fucking minds over like My Hero clips, but that's basically us whenever new episodes comes out. So I mean, as much as I enjoy the more complicated shows, sometimes it's nice to be able to just, you know, lose my fucking mind like a 5-year-old watching some nice animation every once in a while and just not care about, the in-depth stuff. So I don't know, I guess
Well,
talking about it with
well, I
my
mean, like, it's not like we don't get hyped over certain parts of it. We just me and my people I talk to that specifically talk about anime as a whole. We tend to be more analytical about the episodes and less, and like we'd look at it more like, how is this constructed thing, and that's just any show we talk about. There's very few shows that we actually just kind of get actually hyped for, and they actually haven't happened for a while. So a lot of times it's just our approach to it, and that's just how our minds work in this case.
I see.
For me, I guess I have a more typical example of the otaku experience, as shonen anime was probably the easiest anime to talk about for meeting new otaku based people. So like when I was in anime club in college or in high school, if I had no other anime to talk about, first and foremost, the safest choice was always a shonen anime, because they had to have heard of a shonen anime, or at least the big three. Now, before the big three became popular, like in 2005, thanks to Toonami over here, you had to like talk about the shonens based on the list of stuff you should watch before you should die. Which not everything on there was a shonen, like Trigun and Cowboy Bebop were definitely not shonens. But on that list, I mean, somebody in the audience will probably know what I'm talking about, of that list of anime you should watch before you should die, which predated the big three. There was Full Metal. I want to say Full Metal was on there. I could be wrong. Some people will say it's a seinen. It's weird. But yeah, in general, like, definitely when the big three hit the States, it was the easiest thing to talk about with people you've never met, and you can kind of get a feel for what they like and then jump off from there.
I think it's a lot easier nowadays to talk with people you haven't met about anime. I feel like even 3 years ago was a lot fucking harder than nowadays. Like
Yeah.
I've never really cared enough to not talk about it because I don't know. I think anime's fucking cool. If you think it's nerdy, that's on you. I think this shit's sick. So I've always talked about it even at school, which before didn't really work out for me. But when we moved into like grade 12, I guess a lot of people saw it as kind of unique, and no one really was very judgmental about it. And I even ended up getting like a couple people into it. So
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I feel like if you're an otaku and you want to meet other otaku, all you gotta do is wear a fucking like a Akatsuki badge or hat or anything to do with any kind of reference, and you'll get people walking up to you and complimenting it, and you can just start a conversation from there.
I mean, for me, I've had a slightly different experience. Mine was more mixed. I remember back in the day when I was younger, if I talk, because I live in the American South. If I talked about any anime that wasn't a shonen back in the day, if they told it all depended on if their parents liked it. If the parents didn't like me talking about anime that wasn't like the normie shit, like Naruto, Bleach, or One Piece, or mostly Naruto and One Piece. For some reason, a lot of parents down here don't like Bleach.
Bleach.
I would get told by the kids that they couldn't hang out with me anymore because I was trying to get them on the child porn.
What the fuck?
Whoa!
It was it was a thing.
Parents are on crack.
Not South American, like
That's
Georgia.
what I that's what I meant. I don't know geography. I barely went to fucking
I
school.
live in Georgia, like the South, like Louisiana, Mississippi, and all that stuff. The Bible Belt, which we like to call it around here. Yeah, nowadays it's like anime is mainstream. Most people know what anime is. I mean, they know at least the stigma that it's not just child porn. Obviously, I definitely say that it's still like my gut reaction to just talk about shonens first, because it's more like, for me, it's like I rather have them be like, hey, I identify with that, than to be like, I don't know what that is, because they might not want to continue the conversation, if you know what I'm trying to say. But personally, I haven't watched as many shonens as I used to. I mean, they're definitely stuff it took me forever to watch My Hero because I was depressed. But
I
like,
mean, at this point, I feel like shonens like My Hero and Naruto are just like, I don't know, they kind of fall outside of the realm of like otaku anime, I guess, for me now. Because I mean, like,
and Fairy Tail
pretty much
burned the shit
every
out of me. I'm
fucking
still
human
pissed
in the
off.
world has seen those shows. I mean,
Let me
like,
just say this. Oh, sorry.
no, go
on.
ahead, go ahead.
I just wanted to say fuck Fairy Tail. I got burnt. If no one showed and did something to me in my brain, it was Fairy Tail. I gave it a chance. I was defending it for the longest ass time, and then the quality just kept getting worse and worse. I couldn't defend that man anymore. I could not. So fuck Fairy.
Fairy Tail was one of my first anime. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of off topic for the whole episode, but I mean, you mentioned how anime is getting more mainstream, and I mean, I've been noticing that, and it's kind of getting to like a ridiculous point. Like, you guys probably don't watch UFC, but like 2 nights ago, what my profile picture is, it's a fighter, and he literally is making constant Naruto references, and people
Oh
fucking love him for it. Like he's wearing a
yeah.
Kotsky shirt to all of his interviews. My profile picture is literally him doing fucking jutsus before his fight. He said shit like the world shall know pain before his last fight. Like he's just dropping references all over the place, and his fighter name is a last like style bender. So it's definitely a
God.
mainstream thing, even to the point where like fucking famous athletes are just becoming anime protagonists.
Okay, but the counter to that, doesn't that kind of get a bit not annoying, but I guess the word like not cringy, I guess.
Actually,
I wouldn't call it cringe because I get fucking hyped whenever I see it, but at the same time it kind of makes me mad that well, not mad, but just like, man, what the fuck? Why did I get picked on for this 5 years ago, and now everyone's on the hype train making TikToks about how cool anime is, motherfucker? Like, you picked on me for that. You don't have the right.
well, in fact, that actually does bring us on to the episode with that perfect example, because that brings us into shonen in the perception of YouTube. And if you've been on YouTube and you watch anime content a lot, you'll know that ShonenTube is a thing, and that ShonenTube is seen as its own little bubble of the universe in
Fucking
the
love
otaku community
ShonenTube.
compared to everybody else. And Noxris' example of the UFC fighter is the perfect type of like demographic in itself for ShonenTube.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I was kind of meaning with shonen being in its own kind of category for animes, because like if someone's looking to get into anime, most likely they have found it through someone like the Stylebender or a more popular thing like that. Like if they're brand new to fucking anime and they're just getting into it when they're like, in their adult stages, the majority of them are going to be going to shonen. Like no
Yeah.
doubt about it. They're going to be watching like the fucking Naruto's or the, Hunter x Hunters or whatever shonen, caught their eye first. But that's definitely what they're going to first. No motherfuckers getting into anime is like, I'm gonna start out with fucking Madoka Magica.
I started along the lines of ergo proxy thinking.
I
God
started
damn
with
it,
fucking
Lamp.
Fairy Tail.
No. I'm just kidding.
Then I went to Black Butler, and it all went downhill from there.
Yep. So I think any Anituber who's currently watching this right now can agree with me and say that ShonenTube as a Anitube community is its own fucking thing, and we kind of like there's ShonenTube people and everybody else in the Anitube community. ShonenTube is, as it says, it's people that only talk about shonen anime because there's just so much of it, so much content for it that you could just make it. We have people like Forever World. We have, what's his name? The guy who makes just Dragon Ball content, Masato X. I forgot his. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll put your name up on the screen.
There's totally not Mark makes all Dragon Ball. He just switched to One Piece recently, though, I think.
Yeah, like there's also people you wouldn't expect. Like there's this Anituber that does shonen based workouts. He's the workout Anituber guy, which I
Ooh, I've
love him
seen
to
that.
death.
That shit's sick.
And he does nothing but shonen anime, and that's the Shonen Tube. And this is pretty much the genre that inspired me to make this topic this month because of how different the dichotomy is. It can't be more night and day with showing like how shonen is perceived on YouTube compared to everyone just in like casual talk, because it's just so exaggerated. It's exactly how I see shonen anime be treated, just to a very exaggerated degree.
I feel like shonen's kind of disrespected in the Anitube community to an extent. Like there's the shonen tubers, but I feel like there's a lot of people who kind of down talk it just because of its popularity.
I mean, I do agree. I think it's down talked because Shonen Tube has just become such a big animal of its own thing, and the type of content Anitubers in Shonen Tube do are pretty all the same. It's much different. Like you can tell a shonen Anituber from a non-shonen Anituber, or those who aren't specifically with the way they edit, just simply by the way they edit by themselves. There are exceptions, of course, but you can tell that there's a big category difference. Another thing, I'm gonna be that person because I'm gonna be that person. It's also stereotypically the one genre that people say black people are the most akin to, and they're not wrong. It's the stereotype that black people love shonen anime.
I mean,
and yes, we do.
I can't count how many times I've been at like parties where like people will listen to me talk about anime but not really care, and like 10 minutes later they'll start playing some like absolutely sick fucking rap music and not even realize that the guy's rapping about having a perfect Susanoo and being in the Akatsuki. It's like, do you guys not realize that this is an entire Naruto reference? This motherfucker
Yeah, I know that
literally
guy.
has a Naruto cover. Like, he has the Akatsuki outfit on in the album. How are you not realizing that, like, Naruto's in every rap song?
I never knew that was not even stereotype. I didn't know it was a thing at all.
No,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a big thing. It's very obvious. Like if anime conventions online, if you like black people, we black people like no. Let me keep it 100. We black folk like shonen anime. Like you bring anime fans who are all black in a room. Like most of us probably have heard of what Naruto is. Also, specifically Naruto. I want to be very, very, very specific. If it's any shonen anime that's synonymous with black people, it's probably Naruto.
Yeah.
It's probably Naruto.
My first time ever talking about anime in person with someone was with my friend Jalen, who's black, and he just went off on fucking about Naruto for like 3 hours, and then we became very close friends. And he got kicked out of his house, and we watched a shit ton of anime because he stayed at my place for like 2 weeks. That was a good 2 weeks.
Yeah, like it's a very interesting case study in itself, and one day I want to make an episode about it. But like in general, I think the obvious reason why I feel like black people, I'm gonna be that, I'm on my soapbox now. Why black people like Shonen Tube so much is probably because it's the most obvious genre for our our type of characters. We actually see people like us in it. Not just people who are just like shaded darker, like the Gaurus, like the Gauru fashion culture, or that one per girl from 100, that Harem ecchi series. Nah, we have like actual dark skin archetypes in shonen anime of different types, not just Africans either. We got like African American stereotypes in there, and some are good, some are bad, but very prominent characters with actual motivations and goals and roles.
And then there's fucking Hunter x Hunter, where they made the only black character a fucking slave. Come on.
Canary. But Canary has so much impact. I made a video about it on my channel. Shameless plug! About her very little inclusion, how it makes such a big impact in the series. I don't think, like, her backstory isn't that bad, but, they don't really, they more respect it than anything else, but yeah, it's there. I mean, again, we'll get to JoJo's in a minute. They do a much better job of keeping it real, which I think we've gone, like, the first 30 minutes on Shonen, so I think we should move on because we got so much to go through.
Shonen's fucking sick.
Like, Shonen in itself could have gotten its own episode, which, yeah, it's still massive. But anyway, let's move on to its counterpart, Shoujo anime, which is the same age group, 10 up to like 17, but geared towards girls. And obviously, I fucking love it. Ironically, it is the genre I watch I do watch it less than shonen anime, but when I watch a good shoujo anime, I watch a good shoujo anime. I just get tired of the school romances a lot. So that's my opening statement on that.
Yeah, makes sense. I don't know if you saw the Miyoko Dreamy video I just made, but I definitely just got into like shoujo or magical girl as a whole, like within the past few weeks. Mainly thanks in part to Hayden Loves Anime for recommending that I hop around with what I watch a little bit, and I was like, yeah, sure, I watch some fucking magical girl, and I like it a lot. I started with Card Captor Sakura, and it was just a really enjoyable experience. So I think if you've been putting off shoujo or magical girl, you should give it a shot. You fucking pussy. What, are you scared?
Yep.
You scared?
Does Fruits Basket count as shoujo?
Yeah,
Yes.
Fruits Basket's a shoujo. It's
Okay, because me and my mother watched that together.
Aw.
Because we were both like in love with the show, and I think that's when she started reading the manga. So I like occasional shoujos. Yeah, I think like it's like if you watch a show, if you like, there's a couple that you're really gonna resonate with, and you'll watch those. But it's really hit or miss for me.
I mean, like, one other note about shoujos when just talking about it with your bros or just, casually watching it.
I've never
Is that-
talked on a shoujo with one of my bros.
Oh yeah, you're probably right.
If I went over to my friend's house, I was like, yo, you see that new episode of Precure? I would get fucking kicked out.
Well, actually, that proves my point. Is it's not really a genre you openly talk about in certain circles.
I think it's because out of every anime genre, shoujo or magical girl probably has the most stigma still to it. Like that's probably where like all the old stereotypes about like negative stereotypes about anime as a whole, I feel like it's just directed towards magical girl or shoujo now.
Yeah, I mean, I can beg to differ about the when it comes to the other two we're about to talk about, but yeah, for the majority of anime's lifetime fandom here in the West, yeah, it definitely becomes the punching bag. It's probably because again, it's not shonen anime, and shonen anime has its issues too. Like it definitely does. I feel like it creates its own stigma for like being the boys camp and like it's the thing. It's not the girly shit, but like there are some really awesome shoujos that don't rely so much on the fluffy heartness.
I mean, even
Isn't
that fluffy heartness, like you don't gotta be a female to enjoy it. I'm a dude, and I mean, just don't be fucking insecure, you know? Just if you're gonna watch something, don't have the mindset of, oh, this is shoujo, I can't enjoy it.
I do think that regardless if you watch it casually or you talk about it on Anitube, that it's definitely a more veteran genre to get into. I know it sounds super weird considering Sailor Moon is a gateway anime for a lot of people. Like, if you're someone who started with shonen, it might take you a couple of anime, like 2 maybe, to get into shoujo.
It took me
and see if you
5
like it or not.
years. It took me 5 years.
It took Noxris 5
Do
years.
not
y'all.
wait 5 years.
Break it down now, y'all. That's how it's so long it took.
Go watch Card Captor Sakura.
I mean, being the obvious female in the house didn't take me long. I mean, that's what it's geared towards. Lamp?
I tried getting into card cap. Just while we're thinking about card captors, I really tried getting into it. It's not a bad show. I did watch a bit of it when I was younger, and I just kind of fell out of it. I think I just got bored, but that's just me. But it is a good show, though. I think that sort of led to like XXX Holic was the other that led to that show, which does have crossovers to that.
That sounds like a fucking Josei album. That
Huh?
sounds like a Josei album, like XXX Tentacion.
XXX Holic?
Yeah, sounds like an XXX Tentacion album.
Yeah. Well, I because I know that card captors. I think that was Clamp, right?
Clamp.
No fucking
Yeah.
clue. I don't know anything about.
Was it?
Behind?
Okay. Whoever makes card captors, I think, also made Holic, and then the XXX Holic show, they actually go back to the world of card captors, and there's an obvious Lee in that episode, but he's like a grown-up, so it's like, wait a second, I saw that.
That's pretty cool.
Also, Holic is a weird show. Like,
I've never even heard of it.
If you haven't watched a show about a witch who grants her wishes, but at the same time, the wish granting is also very literal sometimes with the twist. It's disturbing, cute, and fun, but also at the same time, it has a lot of like good life lessons in there. I especially love the one where the guy finds a kitsune ramen stand and he eats there, and then that's when the bird gets tails get captured. It's interesting.
I mean, and that's kind of like that segues into what I want to talk about for shoujo and Anitube. In that, notice how both of them made comments about older shoujo anime. So when I hear mostly about shoujo in general, casual or on YouTube, it's I mostly hear it more. The idea is you talk fondly about older shoujo anime, and then newer shoujo anime, it's more like you have to hard sell it. You got to great pretender it to get someone to watch a newer shoujo anime. I know I could be wrong. Like I know Bunny Girl was an Bunny Girl or Snafu might be exceptions to the rule, but like I feel like when people make a YouTube video about a shoujo anime, it's a harder sell if it's newer than an old one. Like, for example, shows like Fruits Basket, Orin High School Host Club, Triple X Holic, anything McClamp fucking made, Cardcaptor Sakura. These are old legacy shows that, like, have a lot of, like, fondness in the community. And they're classic staples, and it's really easy to get into, especially if they're older females or just older anime fans in general. It's a lot easier to talk about the older shit with shoujo stuff than newer stuff, where shonen is the opposite. It's a lot easier to get someone on a newer show. Yeah, they're big. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, big brain. With shonen anime, it's the opposite. It's a lot easier to get into a newer shonen anime than an older shonen anime because you got to get through all those hundred of fucking episodes. Like, hear the horror stories of people trying to get into One Piece in 2020. Woo. But like with shoujo, like the newer animes, maybe it's their subpar, maybe it's their lesser quality, maybe it's their lack of legacy, maybe it's the fact that we just have so much legacy content in shoujo anime. But I feel like there's this threshold that if you talk about shoujo on Anitube, you gotta really sell it like some kind of like great pretender salesman.
I think nowadays that is the problem with like anime. Which I think may have become. This is a commentary more about like how anime has changed the perception of the public. Back when it was easier to get into like shonen and shoujo, it was more of an underground, like more of a smaller hobby to watch anime in your spare time. But now it's like it's a trend. So if you want to sell something, you really want to like, hey, this is the best shoujo you're gonna watch. Then I think that's maybe how it's changed sort of the advertising, even on a personal level of anime.
Nox, do you got anything else on that?
Not really, honestly. I mean, I'd have to agree. I mean, whenever I've talked to people about shoujo, which hasn't been often except for recently, it's typically about the older stuff. I mean, Mahotsukai Precure is fucking sick, and that's like from 2014. But yeah, other than that, most of the ones that I hear people like fondly talking about or saying is really good are all from like early 2000s and older.
With that being said, let's move on to Seinin anime. So I'm gonna explain it since Nox.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that is.
So Seinin is essentially just shonen, but for older people. So it's a demographic of shows for boys older than 17. Like we're getting into like 17 to 30-year-olds. So your what's a good example? Technically, all your ecchi series like High School to Dead, High School DxD. Then you got shows like Shield Hero, Goblin Slayer, anything with a punishment game. Or any, like, high-stakes Omagetsu Kaiji is another good one.
I haven't seen any of those shows.
Wait, High School DxD is a seinen?
Yeah, because it's ecchi. Do you think you're going to show boobs and butts to the same kind of kid?
Good point.
I don't know, dude. I'm going to be showing my kids hentai when they're, like, 8 years old.
Okay, let me ask, what's a really popular seinen anime besides High School to Dead? Also, another weird thing about seinen anime is that a lot of seinen anime are disguised as like super cute feelsy shows, like that involve a lot of daddy and daughter stuff. So like, there's an anime about a little cute little fox girl that came out recently, and there's
that one.
Yeah, there's nothing bad. That's a seinen.
Oh,
is Somali the forest spirit of seinen?
Huh?
Is Somali the forest spirit of seinen?
Somali in the forest spirit.
It's like a little girl getting taken care of by big golem father. It's very cute.
I have not watched that, but I'ma just look that up so I don't look like a dumbass.
I made a video on it a while ago. I really liked it.
Shameless plug. Go watch that video. While I look up popular seinen anime for Noxris to kind of like guess about, Lamp, talk about your experience with some shows.
I mean, to be fair with seinen, I guess. Now, here's the problem with me is like kind of it blurs the line sometimes. I don't know if a show is necessarily a shonen, a seinen, or whatever it is. I just know that in this case of High School DxD, that I was laughing in a kind of way at the jokes. So it's like, you know what, you guys are trying to write these jokes, but dear Lord, stop. With how they made that show. But if it's on that kind of line, I only have watched actually High School DxD. I've never actually seen anything else that would qualify as a seinen, unless no, that's all I've got. I really don't have much history with that one, I'm afraid.
All right,
Yeah,
okay.
I've always been petrified to watch something like High School DxD because I've lived with my parents primarily my whole life except for like last year. But I'm not trying to have them walk in and fucking like titties that are the size of my head or fucking going all
How
over the
is
screen.
BNA? Oh wait, Kill la Kill.
Yeah, let me look at. I'm gonna list off some anime that are considered seinen anime. For example, the following are Tokyo Ghoul, Erased, Elfen Lied, Parasite,
Elfen Lied?
Elfen Lied. That's obviously a seinen. Kaguya-sama Love is War.
What?
Black Bullet. Black
Kaguya-sama's
Bullet.
a seinen?
Yep.
What in the how?
There's two types of seinen. There's the super edgy Black Lagoon. I'm gonna shoot up some motherfuckers like gore shit. There's the ecchi shit, and then there's like the super cute. I want to protect this like I call it the no looty lolly type of seinen where nothing bad happens. It's just you're a daddy. You want to protect this cute little girl. You want to protect. You don't want to lewd. Hopefully. And there's like, yeah, the cute stuff. There's also the fourth where just you relate to it. It could just be a slice of life you just heavily relate to as a kid, as like an older teenager that wouldn't really go with like a shonen series like Hunter x Hunter, which mostly has a protagonist that's like 11 or 12. So seinen can simply just be like Kaguya-sama, where the dude's like in high school and has to deal with like super, and it has psychological as a tab, so that could be why. But continuing onward, Batum, Hellsing and Hellsing Ultimate, Prison School is a seinen. You like Vinland Saga. You kind of see what the kind of type of anime, the more obvious types, the super gritty, the super actiony, the gory shit they couldn't really put in normal shonen. Normal shonen is like there's with shonen you just punch a guy in the face and that's it. With a seinen, you'll punch a guy in the face, all of its gore, rip out their innards, and then call them a motherfucking pleb. That's a seinen.
Okay.
Again, that's not all seinens. Disclaimer: don't at me, bro. Like Monster's more of a mind game, and Mushishi is more of like a historical journey.
Knowing that's a seinen though.
Yeah, Sakamoto Desuka is a seinen for more mundane reasons that it's more relatable to high school kids.
Imagine getting fucking fatality'd by some anime character and then getting called a pleb.
And then,
I mean, that sounds like a Dark Souls day to me.
And then you got stuff like Kiss X Sis, which is
I've been asked to review that. I was like, what in the fuck? No.
An old one was like Chobits. God damn, Chobits was a seinen, yeah.
I watched
Chobits?
Chobits when I was like, that was one of my first anime because I had a girlfriend at the time and she wanted to watch it and I was like 14, didn't know what the fuck sex was, and they kept making references about like the fucking switch or whatever being right on her pussy, and she kept making like these eyes to me. That was the most uncomfortable shit. I was like, what the my dick don't work yet, bitch. What do you want from me?
And
like,
that's why
watch Sword Art.
What the fuck? And that's why I say that seinen anime are not only one of, if not the hardest anime to pin down if you don't know what to look for, but it's also the most varied anime demographic out of the four, because you just never know what you're gonna get. Like the one thing you always know that the protagonist tends to be at least in their high school days and older. You'll get like an adult who maybe like Interview with Monster Girls has an adult as the main protagonist, so you'll have these. That's a good sign to start with. And then you have Is That Order a Rabbit, which may or may not be a seinen because of its cute girls doing cute girls things. But I have not found the list yet, so yeah, that's kind of it. Like, that's what I mean. Seinens are pretty hard. It's a big grab bag, and I think that's what makes it interesting. On Anitube, I've also seen less people kind of talk when people talk about a seinen, they don't talk about it because of the seinen, like with shonen anime or shoujo anime talking about it because it's a shoujo or shonen. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, from what I've heard about seinen, just from what you've said about it, it seems more like a subgenre. Like things will be considered more of a shonen than, or like more of a isekai, whatever actual genre they are, other than seinen. Seinen, it seems more like an age rating.
Now, the reason I put it in demographics simply because that's how it marketed it. It goes by a older boy demographic.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Yeah, like our next topic, which is the exact opposite, which is the Josei genre, which is a genre, the older female is older in the age of 17. And honestly, I gotta rant about it. This is the genre I try to root for every time I see one, but it's also, in my opinion, the most boring genre. There's like the number of good Joseis are few and far between. For example, I always believe the face of Josei anime is Princess Jellyfish. It's probably the most known Josei out there, at least if you're in the West. For example, comparatively to Seinin, I think Joseis are the most obvious to spot if you know what you're looking for, because they tend to all have a trend of more down-to-earth stories, more wholesome stories with a lot of dialogue and exposition. We have a lot of like more like fantasies, like more a fantasy mindset in a Josei, or like shows with a lot of characters. So let me name off some Joseis so we get acclimated. We got Usagi Drop, we got Chiharafu, we got Kids on the Fucking Slope, y'all. We got Node Dame Cantabile, we got Amnesia, we got Shogekugeki Rakuno Shinju, Servamp, Honey and Clover, like I said before, Princess Jellyfish Carnival. These are shows that most people will not watch. They're more of a hard sell. I'm gonna start with the YouTube perception first and then go backwards, because I think that might make more sense, if that's okay. So I think the YouTube perception of Joseis is that they're hard, is that when they're spotted, the perception is that they're boring and they're really hard to get people into, unless a popular person does it. I was kind of glad when people, like, even when everybody for that year of like 2017, everybody was not shutting up about Shogekugeki no Rakuno Shinju, that anime about, Rakugo, yeah, the anime about Rakugo. Joseis tend to have very obscure topics, very little down to earth or very obscure like activities they talk about. For example, there's a Josei about making dictionary, about two guys making dictionaries, like how the dictionary process is made. You got your review. Yeah, it was an anime featured on like Amazon's Anime Strike before that got taken down.
That's crazy.
You
These
got
motherfuckers really said, you ever wonder how a dictionary is made? And then they made an anime out of it. That's
yeah,
crazy.
There's of course like the older romance shows. I like the older romance shows the best because they actually go into depth and talk and go into like the mindset of each person's relationships. They don't really do one thing to appreciate about, I feel like Joseis from the perception of a YouTuber, or I'm gonna put myself defending them right now as a YouTuber. I do see them as more of a fine wine. If you like a topic in general, like going to Paris or cooking, or if you're a Fujoshi, there's like two types of Joseis. There's like Fujoshis and everybody else, in my opinion. And the Fujoshis pretty much kind of took over Joseis as time grew on, because Josei's not as popular as the other three demographics. I get that. But like, you can still make a great story. Like, a lot of these stories are very complicated and complex, and there's gotta be a reason for everything if it's not a boys love thing. There's gotta be, like, one of my favorite ones is about a guy, about a 20-something-year-old who's in love with this 34-year-old woman who runs a flower shop. And
that is a large age gap. My goodness.
Yeah, age gaps are common. She's a widow, and he's trying to get with her but doesn't know what to do, and then all of a sudden he realizes that he's being haunted by the ghost of her dead husband because he's working at the flower shop.
Yikes.
And it's like this 3-thing romance of like how to deal with that. And then you got like stuff like Polar Bear Cafe, which are the exceptions to the rule. They're pretty simple. I think stuff like Usagi Drop is a more like known one about like, taking care of families and the trials and tribulations of that. But you kind of get what I'm trying to say. And reverse harems, but we'll get to those. We'll get to those later. Yeah, Joseis. Obviously, it's really hard for me to talk about Joseis if they're not already in otaku.
Yeah, I wish I had more to say about it, but I mean, I just learned what it is now. Haven't heard of any of the shows you listed, nor have I even watched YouTube videos, which is honestly surprising to me, because all I do is fucking watch YouTube videos.
Like,
my first thought was, oh, I know, let's turn on the show about the dictionary creation. That sounds riveting.
Or like, there's like a subsection of Joseis, which I'm not going to be talking about in full detail, called the Bromance anime, which is essentially a anime where it's a mostly male cast, but it's mostly a male cast. if not an all-male cast. They just pretend females don't exist. But the idea, it's that it's
Society has passed the need for women.
Woo! Bromances are fujoshi bait. They don't do any. It's like a cuckold for fujoshis. There's nothing actually sexual going on in these bromances. It's just a lot of dudes doing a thing. And it could be like sports anime. There are some hosty sports anime, some. There's like Mega Nebu, which is it's a club anime about 4 dudes who all wear glasses.
I want to shonen yaoi about dick sword fighting.
Yeah, like, the idea is that in bromances, there's nothing sexual or even shonen going on. But, like, the idea is that the camaraderie and their bromance and their friendship gives creativity, if I know where I'm going with it.
Wait, hold on.
Jojo.
So is there literally an episode, a show where the only relation between the 4 characters is that they all wear glasses?
Yep. They create a club called the Glasses Club at their school about...
That's it?
Yep. And it's if you notice in that show, there are no females in that show.
Yeah!
No females. Even the parents are all both dudes. But they don't say they're gay. They just can't let you assume
Welcome
they are.
to gay school. All the students here are gay. The teachers are gay. Their parents are gay. No one is women here.
I mean, it could be a clone-based society. Maybe they were engineered. I don't know.
The fun part about Joseis and why I still try to defend them a lot and why I do like there's some good shit out there is that once I get someone hooked on a Josei, it's like looking for like gold. It's like looking for gold in a river. There's a lot of boring ones out there, but you find some good ones and they stick with you. They get you thinking. So before we move on to like the smaller genres in general, I'm gonna do it because it's my show. Some Joseis to watch. Princess Jellyfish. That one about the ghost called Natsuki Rendezvous. Natsuki Rendezvous is another good one. Polar Bear Cafe if you want something healing. Shonigeki Raku no Shinju, have not watched it, but it's probably the one Anitubers talk about the most. It's like the second most highlighted Josei. I'm amazed Chiharafu got 3 fucking seasons, but I'm glad it did. Is Sweetness and Lightning a Josei, or is it no, hey, that's a Seinin. Sweetness and Lightning is a Seinin, surprisingly. Usagi Drop, if you watch the manga, not watch the manga. If you watch the anime, I'm not a fan of the manga, but hey. And of course, and one that I read the manga for, but I didn't even know it had an anime until now, is an old Josei called Goku-Sin, which proves a Josei can have action and comedy in it and actually make you bust a gut. Because I'm tired of the perception that Joseis can't be funny, because they can. Now,
is Goku-Sin a Dragon Ball spin-off where Goku's an actual sinner and he goes to hell?
No,
it's punished by Christ.
It's about a woman who's the granddaughter of the mafia who wants to become a teacher. It's like GTO. But if a female was the main character.
I see.
It's great. It's done by Madhouse. So.
Ooh.
Yeah. So like get you guys interested in that shit. Which had more episodes though. Anyway, let's now that we've talked about the 4 major food groups of by demographic, let's food groups. Let's
talk
talk
the food pyramid here.
Let's talk about subgenres. So I'm gonna talk about the following things are genres I personally believe are the most popular types of genres Anitube talks about the most, or in general, it's like in the collective conscious. When you think of anime right now, these are things you think of at the top of your head. So, Isekai. Let's just get that one out the way. We all know what it is. We all, there's so much, it's become so saturated. Isekai, in my opinion, is the fantasy boom 2.0. Like, it started
I don't know how people aren't over Isekai yet, honestly.
I mean, for those who know, Isekai is like, you go to a fantasy world with game mechanics. That's the main difference between an Isekai and just a fantasy. Does it include game mechanics or D&D mechanics? Or does it not? But like, I feel like definitely Isekai is saturated. It's definitely it feels like it's the natural next step to someone who's just got out of Shonen in 2020. Like, if you're a new anime fan and you just got into Shonen anime and that's your first dip into the anime move pool, then you probably went to Isekai next because it's been in your face and you haven't left your face.
Yeah, Isekai is probably the biggest beginner genre, I'd say. I think most people start with either Shonen or Isekai. But like a
I
lot of
mean,
people are still like watching Isekai like years later, and they still are on it. Like I watched 2 and I was over it.
like it's definitely with the perception of it being on YouTube. It's definitely become a growing pain with Anitubers I've noticed nowadays because there's just so much of it. It's become the thing to hate.
I mean, I don't understand that either. Like I don't hate it. I just am kind of
Not
bored of it
hate it.
now.
It's kind of like the thing to be like isekai is not that big a deal anymore, and we got people and like, but we all understand that if there's an isekai, most of us will probably watch it. If you are still open to it, like I still watch isekai here and there again. I still enjoy it when I do enjoy it. There is a lot of stinkers out there though.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You guys got a favorite? You guys got a favorite isekai? Mine was I want to say mine is Log Horizon, but that was like right before isekai became like established. But mine is Log
Slime
Horizon.
Isekai is the last one I watched, and I enjoyed it mainly just because it made me feel good.
Which
It's
one?
good vibes. Slime Isekai.
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Slime isekai is great,
And,
man.
as far as how Anitube sees Isekai, since I guess we're kind of talking about how Anitube sees genres too. I mean, like I said, I'm over them, but I don't really hate them. But whenever I like click on a video, like a lot of YouTubers have the same exact fucking take of like, oh, Shonen is so overplayed and bad now, and then they'll make like 10 jokes about it in their video, and like I've been seeing that for like 3 years, so I
You
don't
hear
know.
that a
I feel like
lot.
that's like the most unoriginal take anybody could ever have. It's like, good job, dude. I heard someone say that 3 years ago.
Yeah, like isekai and shonen have pretty much fusion hard together in that same stigma now of if you like shonen is there's not the good shit anymore. Like, and we were like, I know that sword art was like the punching bag of isekai. But then again, isekai wasn't a thing when Seiya was a thing.
Well,
It
yeah,
just
no, it kind of laid the foundation for it, I'd say.
here's what I've noticed. When Sword Art and Log Horizon were still like were a thing, it was more about you die in the game, you die in real life, or you die in the game. Like it was really tied to its game mechanics.
Felt a lot more drama based, at least for Sword Art. Like the first season of that was very fucking intense compared to like any other isekai I've watched so far. Like it
But
was a lot more
nowadays,
investing.
it's kind of been. That's why I say that isekai now is more like the fantasy boom of the 90s, but just with game mechanics, where people aren't really transported to a game world. Well, they are, but they're transported to an actual world that's like a game and like a game, but it's not like with Sword Art where it's like there's like a menu.
I mean, I think isekais now, at least the ones that are like focused on the whole game part, like there's a lot of them where it's just like they're not actually getting transferred to another world. They're just playing games, and a lot of isekai to me just feel like rebranded slice of life at this point.
And it's gotten to the point where like a lot of isekai, there's a lot of shows that get mistakenly put as isekai simply because they have talks of game in it. Like Goblin Slayer, it's not an isekai, it's a full-on fantasy. It just happens to have terms that we recognize. There's no
Are we counting Dot Hack, the original Dot Hack series? Because that was definitely my first isekai, and I actually liked that quite a bit.
I mean, yeah, that was kind of doing it before it was cool. Yeah, but like for example, I like for me, one of my fewest nitpicks is that people are like Goblin Slayer is an isekai. No, it ain't. Yeah, it has D&D references, but like it's a fantasy world. These people were born in this fantasy world. No one got reincarnated into it. Like that's the whole idea. It's reincarnation, or you die and it's transportation, or whatever the fuck. I mean, for shoujo, there are a few shoujo isekais like Fushigi Yugi is probably the most. Fushigi Yugi and Inuyasha are probably the two most prominent shoujo isekais.
Inuyasha's an isekai?
It's time travel.
I haven't actually watched it, so I.
Inuyasha, it's time
would
travel.
That be yeah, that technically is not reborn per se, but it's technically world shift.
I mean, okay, that's like put in the comments below. Do you think Inuyasha is an isekai or not? There's an argument to be made that it is, and there's an argument to be made that it isn't. Because is time travel part of the isekai mechanics? Yes and no, but like I say no. I say it you can argue it being an isekai because of the demons, the magical demons and stuff. Yes, they're from folklore, but you wouldn't see that in an actual historical Japanese if you actually time traveled, legit.
According to Reddit here, the consensus seems to be yes.
Yeah, like Inuyasha, like Fushigi Yugi is definitely an isekai. It was an isekai before isekai was a thing. And if you were like deep in shoujo back in the day, you definitely heard about it. But yeah, Inuyasha was probably my first isekai if you want to make that argument. So, and I can't wait for Yashahime next week cuz the spin-off's coming and I can't wait for that. But yeah, I think that what I find interesting is that the reason I talk about with Anitube first is I don't really talk about isekai to my friends casually. That's interesting. It's like one of the few genres where I don't really do that.
I don't think any of my friends have even seen an isekai yet.
You must cure them of that.
I mean, Lamp, do you talk about
I
isekai
don't
casual?
think they need to. Let's be real here.
I mean, I don't talk about anime except for to my one coworker and maybe a few friends and my mother specifically because she's the one who got me into anime. And we'll mention it if we're watching it, but if we're not watching it at the time, we just kind of don't bother because it's like, we're not watching that show right now.
So, like, in hindsight, that's kind of funny. Like, it feels like isekai is one of those genres where it's very Anitube-centric. Not really I mean, I could be wrong. You could have a different experience in the comments, folks, or in general, but I just feel that with isekai, it's very YouTube-centric. It's a big talking point.
I'd say pretty much all discussion about isekai probably happens online. I don't think I don't even think there's much you can really discuss about isekai other than like
or conventions, or at the very least conventions. If you go, I could easily talk about isekai like slime isekai at a convention, but not like outside of a convention, if you know what I'm trying to say. Okay, so next we're going to talk about harem anime. Simply just harems. Reverse harems will come later down the line, but you know them, you love them. It's the genre, and we're actually going to talk about ecchis in the same vein because, like, I feel like harem and ecchis are like the square to the rectangle idea. Harem can be an ecchi, but not all ecchis are harems. And obviously, if you don't know what they are, they've been around since the old times. Guy surrounded by a lot of girls, maybe for romance or comradeship, and with an ecchi, boobs in the butts and all that bouncy shit.
He's around girls because he wants some pussy.
But fails every time.
So let's ask the gentleman's question. Are you guys brave enough to talk about ecchi anime or harem anime casually?
I haven't watched either. I've always avoided ecchi because I didn't want my parents to walk in on like some lewd shit. As well as I've never really gone into harem anime either.
It's like, for example, an example of an anime. A lot of older harem anime don't really go into the ecchi vein, so they're pretty safe. My personal
isn't the whole harem thing like our main protagonist is just drowning in pussy for no reason? Like the girls are all over him.
No? That's what. Not really. I mean, it's definitely there definitely is the romancing aspect of it, but a lot more tamer harems don't even go as far as like they'll do the, like, for example, a lot of older harems, like Tenchi Muyo, Saber Marionette J, as the harem queen. I know too many. I shouldn't be knowing so many harems. Tenchi Muyo, Saber Marionette J, I just thought of it. Love Hina. Like, older anime like that, they are very tame in comparison to, like, the ecchi harems nowadays. It feels like nowadays, casually, you can't talk about a harem series without talking about echiness because it feels like very few anime can be a harem without it being an ecchi. And if it isn't a ecchi anime, then it's a school anime that could be more like a shoujo or something like Bunny Girl. Bunny Girl's a harem that doesn't go into ecchi. And then there's Bakemonogatari, that fucking franchise. That's a harem in itself. A lot more of the serialized, really drama-based school dramas. A lot of the school-based harems are a lot more tame. Like Snafu. Snafu's a love triangle. Well, you can make the argument that it is a harem with Snafu, with the girls that kind of come in later on. But And boy. That boy.
Ciao.
Great. So it's definitely I feel like with casually talking about it, it really, when it comes to harem anime, I think it really tells what type of person you are as an anime fan. Whether it's like the indicator if you've been in this shit for long enough or not at all. Like,
I've been watching for like 6 years. I guess I've watched Bunny Girl, but I haven't watched like any of the typical harem anime.
I'm not saying every person like if you're like a veteran, has to experience harems because some people just can't stomach them. I just feel like the perception on Anitube that does change, but is that, and that's thanks to the anime that's been going on nowadays, is that you can't talk about harem without talking about the ecchi if it's not school based. Shows like High School DxD, High School of the Dead is again another ecchi series. I keep bringing these two up because they're just so prominent in my brain, they're burned in.
I'd say those are like the typical, like, I guess,
Monster
when you think
Musume,
of
there we
anime,
go.
if you don't know anime, you think of shit like High School DxD, which is like really ecchi shit all over the place.
And then there's Monster Musume, which was woo. I remember when Monster Musume used to be the uproar of the town before interspecies reviewers basically went hold my beer. Stuff like that. But like, yeah, I feel like the misconception casually is that harems do not have to always be very lewd. They can be very intimate. Like Rent a Girlfriend now, even though I haven't really watched it, I heard some good things about Rent a Girlfriend. When it comes to just normal harems, I don't got much to say on them casually because I don't watch them as much casually as I used to. Yeah, I know, right? The harem queen who wants to write a book about harem anime has not watched a lot of the newer shit recently. It's just, there's a lot to unpack with harems, and there's like an investment to like find your waifu, which casually, I feel like as a normal anime watcher, I don't really care about the waifu wars. But if you're an Anituber, I feel like waifu wars are like the thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like Ora Emo. Woo! Who remembers the waifu wars of Ora Emo? I sure fucking do. Oh, that ships were sailed, people were crying. I can't believe he went there. It's still shocking to this day. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah, unfortunately I don't have too much experience with ecchi or harem.
I will. I mean, a show can be ecchi or not to me, only because like it doesn't. Like I said, it doesn't have to be lewd. Doesn't have to be like too risque. But I think there is some good ecchi anime that can be at least a little bit wholesome. Or like there's another. We're gonna get reverse harem eventually. But like Outrun High School. It's like that kind of harem anime is nice. But when it comes to ecchi, I think it depends on how overt you make the intent. Are you basically trying to circumvent Pornhub, or are you just trying to be trying to be funny?
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, I feel like with Anitube, there's like a mechanical reason why it's really hard to talk about ecchi anime because the boobs and the butts. It's gotten to the point where anime has pushed the limit on ecchi so far that you wonder if it's softcore porn in some of these animes or not.
Interspecies reviewers.
Interspecies reviewers, that's not a harem, but...
It's not a harem, but they definitely did that.
There's also the anime Contraception, which, as the name implies, there's that, like, super, like, fight. There's, like, that high school anime about the dude
God of
that
High
has to
School?
sleep... No, not God of High School. There's an anime, I forgot. It might be Conception. But there's like an anime where this no joke, this guy has to sleep with other girls, like, hug and grope them and stuff to get powered up to fight a monster or to get the guys to fight them. Like, there's a lot of like anime harems like that where you have to like date the girls and the girls have to coordinate who goes what on what day. So like, because they're super fighter weapon people. And the guy is like the ringmaster character who controls all these weapons or warrior girls. And then you got like, I'm trying to remember it because I'm gonna forget if I don't. Then there's like the power fantasy isekai, which are also harems. I feel like which has been a popular middle ground. Guy who's overpowered or super cool gets a harem of girls, like the smartphone isekai. Oh god, the smartphone isekai.
Yeah, I skipped that one.
I watched it. Like, here's the thing. I agree with Giguk that it's fun to watch bad anime sometimes, and that was pretty mediocre and stuff like that. But I go back and forth of should I have watched it or shouldn't have I watched it?
Watching bad anime is, I'd say, only fun if it's like obscenely bad. Typically, like, I definitely get that, but if I'm watching like a mediocre show, I'll just be bored. But if it's like ridiculously bad, it ends up being funny.
But I feel like, at least with recent anime, it feels like there's an emphasis on making the main character a utter loser, like more than older anime. Like, the main character is a loser who's the exact demographic of the people watching it, like to a T, to a point that it's scary. They're a loser, all they do is game, they like anime and stuff. that no one will like them, and that they're just giving girls at the tip of their feet because they happen to have a magical penis or like magical superpowers or something. This one thing.
I mean, that sounds like a jab at the people watching, but I like that.
But sometimes you get some gold with it. Like this is a manga, but this is a time travel manga. But I'm recently reading this manga about it's an anime portrayal of a real life dude from the Salem witch trials in Germany. Well, the main character is not the dude. They're not playing it straight. It's about a dude whose mom was a magician, but then she died through an accident. So he retires from magicianing on his last act because he's like a really famous child prodigy. But he gets killed in a fire accident on stage and ends up being time traveled or reincarnated back in time to the actual Salem witch trials. And he basically spends the entire time he's rounding up a group of girls who've been outed as witches, which we all know it's bullshit.
I don't think it's bullshit. Witches are real.
Oh, that they are.
If Minecraft has taught me anything,
anything is possible.
Now, of course, there's like I just find it when I found out that the anime was basically a retelling of a real person's life, I found it more interesting. But one thing, of course, they take a lot of creative liberties, like involving the church, because when isn't there an anime about fighting adversity if the church is not involved, right? But I'm getting off topic a bit. So yeah, when it comes to harems, it's definitely a more online thing. But it's more like you do talk about it casually, just not in general circles, obviously. And on Anitube, it's that megaphone seems to be like louded up very much.
It's a lot easier to talk about, the more, I guess, quote unquote weird shit online.
Online, yeah.
Because, you're online.
And it kind of gives you brownie points if you become an utter Chad of all the types of it's like a badge of honor to see how many harems you've kind of watched through. But that's just me.
Damn, I got 0 street cred.
Well, I know that idol anime is another genre that, depending on who you ask, gives you street cred or not.
Damn, that gives me a solid +0 street cred, because I also haven't seen any fucking idol anime. God damn it.
I mean, I feel like idol anime, like the big stigma about idol anime in regards to talking about it in Anitube and online is that it's only up until recently, with the rise of certain idol shows, that idol anime was even a real competition thing to talk about. Looking at you, What the What?
Hi, What the What?
Idol anime is definitely a genre that is definitely not a beginner genre, if I want to be a little pretentious about it. It's definitely a genre you hear online about people who've been in the anime circle for a while. It's not your first go-to choice for anime, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I haven't really seen anything to do with idol anime other than Korewa Eden's videos, so... Or like the Precure EDs. Those are kind of idol, but not really.
Precure is more magical girl, isn't it?
Yeah, but the EDs, I'm just purely talking the ED.
Oh, I see.
That's literally the closest thing to an idol I've seen, because they dance and sing. That's literally it.
I've seen my fair share of idol anime. It never was, casually, it never was a genre I talk about much with my friends. It's just never something people were interested in. And I also was not that much. I like Love Live. When I watched it, I enjoyed Love Live. I have all of the first season songs on my Spotify. I adore Reverend Starlight to all the shit. That's a great idol anime. Oh, good, man. Oh, that's some class. But yeah, for the most part, a lot of I feel like I'm gonna be that person, but I feel like you can tell a more subpar idol series from the more profound idol series, at least in the West. I could not for the life of me get into AK 48000. I just couldn't get into that group's anime or any anime. There is a trend of idol anime I did get into though when I was watching it more often, which was the subgenre of local doll idol anime. The idea of that, it's an idol show about girls who are trying to become idols or mascots to promote their small towns, which you could say is more of a slice of life concept, which I think it is, but that was something more I watched. But when we talk about traditional singing at a stage, having all the conflicts of an idol show, it was mostly Love Live for me, and with a few others, but did not get into Idol Master. I was not an Idol Master girl.
Yeah, I wish I would have gotten into idol anime. I've always kind of wanted to check it out. I just never did. Never got around to it.
I'm actually gonna say I never really had experience with idol animes either, so I'm gonna have to say I don't know enough to talk about on this one.
Yeah, I might have to take an L on this too. I know a lot of people who might comment as might have more experiences about it, so y'all do that as we talk about sports, man. Sports. Okay. Can we all agree that sports anime is probably the hardest pushed genre on Anitube?
Cars
It is.
pushes and like people want you to watch it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's way too much. Maybe lots of people are trying to push it, but they all do the same fucking thing of, most people think sports anime bad. This one good. Like, a lot of people will shit on other sports anime for whatever one sports anime they're talking about, I
I
find.
know they're doing it because the stigma has always been for Western otaku that sport people don't get into sports anime because sport. And like for me, for example, I didn't get into sports anime until my friend had to beg me to watch Kuroko, and I could not go back. I was like, I saw Kuroko, I binged the whole fucking 3-season womp. It was so fucking good. So I can see why people would on Anitube would push it. It's just so obvious how out of every other genre on Anitube, it's the one genre I see pushed such the hardest
I mean,
and the most aggressively.
sports anime is fucking sick, because it's like, I don't know, you get all the same feelings as watching, say, fucking Naruto or any kind of like shonen, except, it's something that if you really get inspired enough, like, I watched Naruto and that shit had me wanting to do shadow clone jutsus, but I can't do that shit in real life. You watch Haikyuu,
Like,
now you
Not
want
with
to
that,
not now
not
you
with
want to
that
play
attitude.
volleyball. You can go play volleyball in real life. I mean, yeah, you can fucking do some hand signs and blow vape in front of your webcam and run away and act like you did some jutsu, but you're not gonna do some real jutsus.
and I also think casually, sports anime is probably the genre that also benefited the best from the change in the modern format of doing it by season instead of doing long running form content. It's definitely a great genre to also get newer people into because they're not part of that stigma.
Also, I just want to say, since we're talking about seasonals, as a Canadian, okay, I've been watching sports anime for a little while. There's a new anime coming out this season. I'm not gonna say the Japanese part because I'm not fucking Japanese, but it's called Sport Climbing Girls, I guess. It's about fucking rock climbing. They're making an anime about rock. There's an anime about every fucking sport in the world except for hockey. Why the fuck are you sleeping on hockey? There is volleyball. Now there's fucking rock climbing. Like there's everything under the sun. They haven't touched hockey yet, and they have winter in Japan.
There's go-kart racing. There's like so many go-kart racing anime. There's a Moe girls thing about like shooting, like paintball shooting and like
Exactly.
Oh yeah, that one.
They cover every fucking sport under the goddamn sun except for hockey, which is like arguably one of the top 5 most famous fucking sports. Like, what is wrong with the anime industry? I've been waiting so goddamn long to watch a fucking hockey anime, and these guys are like, yeah, rock climbing. There you go, bud.
rock climbing. I saw that thing too. I was like, rock climbing? Really? Rock climbing?
Like, hockey would be such a sick anime. Come on.
Or like maybe the Japanese aren't into hockey. But never mind. I see like people in like those Japan vlogs on YouTube play hockey like casually in their small town. So
All right.
I don't know what to tell you, bro. I'm sorry
Hockey
about
would
that.
be the best fucking anime of all time. Let me tell you why, okay? 1, you can do it in real life. 2, I don't know if you guys have watched hockey, but you can animate the fuck out of that. Like, when people are on breakaways, you could turn that into a 10-minute, the most suspenseful shit of all time, explaining like every little deke he does with his stick, and it would be hype as fuck and anime as fuck. Hockey deserves an anime, and Japan's sleeping on it, and I'm mad. I don't want to watch rock climbing. I want to watch hockey. Except anime, because real hockey sucks. Sorry,
I mean,
Dad.
personally, I've gotten more around since Kuroko. I have gotten more around to watching some sports anime. It's like it's more. Then again, it's more of a sit down and binge in one session thing. Like, and I do personally feel that a presentation is key. If you're gonna talk about sports, and if a sports anime is gonna be about a certain sport, because like the anime I talked about earlier about the girls doing like shot put or the girls doing just motorcycle kart racing. I couldn't get into them. I just couldn't. Either because A, they took the ecchi route, or B, it was kind of boring.
I bet you'd be able to get into a hockey anime.
I probably could get into a hockey anime because of all the like bashing and thrashing.
shit.
And
If anyone has ever watched the old cartoon Mighty Ducks, can we just revamp that, but as an anime?
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, that'd be sick.
Mighty
Please,
Ducks, the
anime. I don't care what studio, just fucking make something, please. This is the
You're
most
gonna-
low-hanging fruit of any like goddamn sports anime of all time. When you're making shot put and rock climbing.
I'm
Who
gonna
the
put on
fuck is watching shot put anime? Who the fuck does shot put?
I think some Olympians would like some representation. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you do shot put, but there's definitely a lot more people that play hockey.
I'm gonna put a pin on this like for future. I'm gonna like one day. I'm just gonna say in a future video, hey guys, Noxris finally got us hockey anime.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
one
be
fucking. Oh, as soon as that comes out, I'm making a video on it. I don't know. That reminded me. I don't know if you guys have seen the skateboarding anime that's coming out.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Fucking
Yes, I have.
hyped on that. So
Hype. Yes, they're doing a
I'm
casual.
definitely making a video on that as soon as it comes out, or
They made
within
Tony
the first
Hawk the
couple
anime?
weeks.
Yeah, they
Pretty
did.
much.
Pretty
But
much.
just from watching the trailer, like all of my real life friends are skaters. A lot of them, well, I haven't talked to them in a while since everyone moved and is going to college and work now. But when we were in that party life of grade 12, pretty much all my friends were sponsored skaters or just skaters who weren't sponsored. And by spending a lot of time around them, I kind of got to know the culture of it. And watching that trailer, I could tell that they definitely have skaters like in the writing room, or the writer is a skater or something. Like they definitely know what they're doing. It's very down to earth with the skating culture, because as I realized that as soon as I saw the clip of him doing the fingerboarding. I don't know if you remember seeing that part of the trailer.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
That
It
is
was-
100%.
It was sick, yo.
Every fucking skateboarder who actually skateboards has like a little fingerboard, not tech decks. There's like actual fingerboards that are better, and they keep them in their fucking fanny pack or backpack or whatever. Lots of people literally have fanny packs, and it's sick. But like
Yeah.
you go to a party, you get bored, and they just fucking whip out their little fingerboard. So just from that, I know that it's like definitely like cultured, and it's gonna be down to earth for like representing skate culture properly. So I'm really excited for that.
I also got into Megalobox. I forgot about that sports anime I got into. I know it's an Ashia no Joe, like spiritual successor to that franchise, but like Megalobox was stylized, man. I think that's what it gets me. I like the stylization of a good sports anime. And that one had some great music. The music in Megalobox got some bops. I do find it interesting how during the Crunchyroll Anime Awards, like the year after that it was like constantly nominated. Like it was that underground underground anime that they really wanted to push to look cool, because that was the award show before Yuri on Ice took over everything, so they wouldn't look biased. But hey, that's just something I thought about. Anyway, Mecha. Let's talk about Mecha. Ooh, Mecha anime.
See, I actually like. That's the thing. I have a love-hate with Mecha. Like, I like Mecha as a series, as a concept of, like, Gundam-esque stuff. Or not even Gundams. Like, it can be, like, smaller robots. But it's got a formula it follows, and it very rarely deviates. I like Mecha as a cool concept. But besides from Macross or Gundam, it's difficult to find, like, an in-between that actually is interesting.
I don't think I've really watched much Mecha. Does like fucking 1980 Transformers count as Mecha?
I mean,
yeah.
If
that's the case, then really old Transformers was not only my first anime, but my first Mecha anime, as well as, unbeknownst to my dad, his first anime. But
Yeah.
he showed me a lot of like really old Transformers shit that he used to watch when I was younger, and I got really into it. Other than that, I mean, I guess I've watched a bit of Darling in the Franxx. I've watched Code Geass and Gurren Lagann, but I mean, a lot of those are kind of half mecha, and then the other half is like, I haven't watched like a pure blood mecha like Iron Blooded Orphans, or I don't even know if that's a pure blooded mecha, but
yeah, that's a pure blooded mecha.
yeah, I haven't watched any like pure blood mechas, but I've watched the ones that everyone knows about. So I guess I'm kind of normie when it comes to mecha.
And that's the thing. That's the thing I want to harp on, because you just brought up a good point. My argument for Mecha. Casually, is, for me casually, mecha is hard for me to get into if it's pure blood. I feel like the perception online and on Anitube especially is it's definitely the genre that differentiates the normies or the it feels like I know I'm gonna be kind of pretentious here, but there's a stigma that needs to change. That if you haven't watched pure blooded mechas, then you're not being like a cultured person. You can't be taken seriously, like super like analytical or seriously if you don't watch pure blood mechas. I know obviously that's not with most people, but yeah. Sorry, Noxris, go on.
I think mecha, like pure-blooded mecha as a genre, is like a genre made just for mecha fans. Like if you're not already a mecha fan, you're not gonna.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're typically gonna enjoy the pure-blooded mecha anime. Like you'll still like Code Geass and all those.
I mean, Mech Cross is like a crossbred between pure blood because it does more than just Darling of the Franxx, but it's also like it's the reason we have idol anime, ironically, which people will say online is the genre that killed mecha.
Idol?
Yeah, people will say that idol anime is a thing that is the reason why mecha anime isn't as popular because of Macross, but I can see that because because I have various songs of Macross on my computer, but I have not watched a single episode of Macross. Not even Macross Frontier, which is the one most people reference. Have I ever watched a pure-blooded mecha before? And that's what I mean. It's that wording. Notice how me and Noxris are getting that wording, pure-blooded versus not pure-blooded. Doesn't that make it sound all exclusive?
Well, yeah, no, that's another thing is I think out of all the genres, I'd say mecha's kind of not really gate-kept because a lot of people are always trying, like Gundam fans are trying to get you into Gundam a lot of the time. But if you're not watching the right Gundams, they'll judge you, type of thing. I'm not obviously. This is a very generalized statement. If you're a Gundam fan, I'm not saying you like that. It's just kind of something I've noticed with like the Gundam community as a whole.
Right. I noticed that with Gundam specifically, like, and you know what? Let's just throw in space operas too, because that's also kind of in the same vein, but they're different. Say a space opera doesn't have to be a mecha, but like, is in that same vein of like. I know Iron Blooded Orphans is the one people say you should watch if you're trying to get into Gundam. But like with other mecha series, there's nothing like that. Like I hear so many Anitubers talk about Pabler, that mecha series that's more down to earth. Glass Reflection made a good review about it. It's a mecha series that's more down to earth and more about the utility to like public services than actual. Yeah. Just, what are some other franchises? I know, like I said Macross before, but like original Macross, while it had the idol edge, I feel like Macross is like it's like the indicator that Mecha needed to be that Mecha itself knew that it was trying to be more expansive. That it was kind of like eating its own fan base with how small it just still was.
With as prominent and old of a genre it is, like, yeah, it's definitely evolved a lot since then. So by now it's, I wouldn't really say washed up, but it's definitely like a theme that's been explored quite a bit over the years.
I think Ava basically broke the camel's back of Mecha. Like that, it drew a line. Like people, there's still new Ava merch coming out every single fucking year. Isn't that right, Lamp? We're just getting so much Ava merch.
I'm pretty sure like Ava is gonna be taking over the world at some point. So it's not too surprising that we're gonna see more and more of Ava.
It's like you're in like three camps. You're either a pure-blooded mecha fan, you're an Ava mecha fan, or you're a mecha fan for some other reason, like the cute girls or the idols and stuff like that. Something that had to be tacked on to the mecha anime to be a mecha anime. And I'm just keeping it real. I feel like for me, that's why I watched Darling of the Franxx, because it was more than just. I watched it mostly because it was Studio Trigger that did it. Studio Trigger. It was I'm gonna be wrong. I don't mind if I'm wrong, but I think it was Studio Trigger that made Darling of the Franxx. And I watched it because of the studio and because of its weird shitness. Did I like it in the end? No. But it got me to watch it. But yeah, casually, it's another one of those genres I just don't talk about casually because it's kind of wired in my brain at this point to kind of differentiate pure-blooded mechas from other mechas. Like, I love Gurren Lagann all day long. I will watch Gurren Lagann and Code Geass all day long, but I don't see them solely for mecha anime as mecha anime. You know what I'm trying to say?
I think Gurren Lagann, like, while it involves mecha, I wouldn't necessarily say it is like, yeah, like it has Express Time Machine mecha and throwing universes at each other, whatever that counts as.
I'd say that like the same kind of thing goes for all three, like the biggest mecha, which would be like Eva, Code Geass, and Gurren Lagann. At least personally, I think those would be the biggest. None of them really focus on the mecha part. They kind of just add to the original genre, which would be like in the case of Code Geass, it's like I guess strategy and
Yeah, and
other stuff. But the mecha part, it feels more like the mechas were added on to that story rather than the story being added on to the mecha idea.
yeah, and when I see it referenced in like mainstream media, a pure-blooded mecha versus like Ava, I see more like the offshoot mechas be referenced. Like regular show had a full-on anime opening parody of Ava, with the baby ducks episode. Oh, I love that. Anybody who's watched regular show, yeah, it was sick.
I kind of want to look that up after this now.
Yeah, I'll give you the link to that after. It's an amazing parody of like a 1 minute 30-minute opening. It's great.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean,
well,
the Ava opening is so iconic. There's like 4,000 different versions of it.
but yeah, moving on. Slice of lives. I also put Esh. I'm gonna try to say it. I'm gonna try to attempt it. So I apologize for bad pronunciation. Ei Shike, or just healing anime. Put them in the same boat. So slice of lives. They're pretty much the catch-all for everything else that's really not, super bombastic or super actiony or anything. It just tells a story about a dude or a chick or a family doing whatever's. And for me, casually, it's probably the anime I've watched the most as I gotten older. If I fall into depression, I watch a slice of life. If I'm studying for school, I watch a slice of life. If I'm having troubles with love and stuff, I watch a slice of life. A lot of great hoseis, like some of the greatest hoseis that came out recently, the few and far betweens, were also just slice of lives. It's definitely helped me a lot, and it's definitely the anime I've watched the most nowadays. Talking about it, however, is hit or miss. It really depends on if the audience has seen it or not. That's the issue with slice of lives.
I've just gotten into slice of life recently. Like when I first started watching anime, I tried to get into Lucky Star for a bit, and then yeah, no, it just wasn't for me. I just wasn't really ever capable of enjoying slice of life. I got bored, but now that I'm a bit older, I guess I can enjoy it a bit more. Like I've definitely been watching a bit more slice of life lately.
I think it depends on how they do slice of life. Like, yeah, there's things like Lucky Star where it's more casual, like school slash, funny haha life. But then there's things like, I would put this in slice of life is Goodbye Mr. Despair or Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, because that's technically is slice of life, but the amount of weirdness that they put into a single episode, it sort of makes it almost a different genre, but still slice of life altogether.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lamp. I feel like slice of life is such a big ass genre that getting people into it as an Anituber is all depending on what you know about your audience or what you know about your friends. Like, for example, Moe. I didn't talk about Moe and I didn't talk about Moe and Idleness because I feel like Moe was more of a thing. And yeah, I feel like it's the other genre that took Mecha down.
Moe?
Yeah, Moe and Idleness, but like Moe is just cute girls doing cute things, and there's this like stereotype about it's just fluffiness, there's not much going on. But like then you show someone Nichijou, and like their whole world is rocked. Cause Nichijou is great, man. Oh, I love that show. That's the thing about slice of life. It's so broad of a topic. You can get funny slice of lives, you can get tragic slice of lives, dramatic slice of lives, healing ones like Yuru Camp. Yuru Camp saved me like 1 year. I was super depressed, and that cute anime about camping, it was so adorable and just so relaxing. And then Hakume to Makochi is another slice of life. Oh my god, I loved it. It's just there tend to be these shows that like they get you there. That's the thing about slice of life. They're easy to get into. They don't require much brain power or thought.
They're really easy to get into, and I think the primary appeal to them is I don't know, they kind of just force you to enjoy the smaller things. Like
Also relatability, I think. Like, it's a way of saying, this could be you,
yeah, you could have a shit life too. It'll work out, don't worry.
But it's also like the genre, like I have the most caution talking about on Anitube because again, it depends on how many people actually fucking watched it. There's so many slice of lives now. Like, if you know it's popular, like obviously you talk about anime you want to talk about. Like we do that all the time. Again, like it depends. Like it's all. Then again, it doesn't have that problem that like shoujo anime by itself does, where it has this stigma where it's hard to get people. It's a hard sell. With a lot of slice of lives, it's pretty easy to talk about if the person is interested in a certain topic of of those characters, then they might check it out or they might not.
Honestly,
It really all
I
depends.
think slice of life kind of does have a stigma.
It
Not in
does.
this, not in the same way as Shoujo or Magical Girl, but I think the overall stigma of slice of life is that they're just like boring. I guess like that's what I hear a lot of people say, or at least like the people I talk to about anime, is that they'd much rather prefer, you know, anything, pretty much anything with any kind of action or like suspense. For the most part, I've heard a lot of stereotypes of just slice of life being boring.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's more of it nowadays. I feel like during the 2010s, things like Nichijou and what's another slice of life that people would not shut up about. Oh yeah, well this is not from the 2010s, but Azumanga Daioh
Oh yeah.
from like way back. Like those are when you think about slice of lives back in the day, you think about those and it gets and notice how they're both comedy based. So if you can talk about something that's more comedy based, then you might be able to get someone. Then there's like the shorts. There's a lot of slice of lives that are just shorts, 3 to 5 minute romps that are just you leave it, you watch it and forget about it. You watch it and enjoy it.
Well, as I said, like that's I think to me that's also kind of it's good and bad to me. Like in only for slice of life. So I'm not saying this to be mean. So like I would say I absolutely watched all of Lucky Star and I loved it, but trying to put it on paper, I don't know why. And it's just like, what'd you watch the show about? A bunch of schoolgirls just living their life. Wait, what? Yeah, no, that's it. And it's hard to talk about on paper and really like recommend those kind of slice of lives. Yeah, they're comforting, but I think after a while they kind of like after you've seen enough slice of lives, you kind of see it as like it's just this again.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that, even though I haven't seen too many slice of lives, but I've definitely seen a lot of, I guess, repeating lessons or themes or situations.
Yeah,
And,
like
the few shows that I have seen.
it's pretty easy to check out of a slice of life if you don't like it. Like
Yeah.
if it's boring, it's like bye. Or it's like an anime you want to watch casually, but you definitely won't make a video about.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's definitely one of the most hit or miss, like, genres. Like, you're either gonna love it or you're just not gonna be entertained by it at
You're
all.
not gonna dig it, boy.
Yeah.
So that brings us to like my final genre that's in the popular section, which is Magical Girl, which I am going to say right now. I feel like Magical Girl as a genre has been on the decline in terms of content. Is it just me, or have we gotten less Magical Girl anime? I know in the 2010s it blew up with Madoka
I
Magica,
just
but
got into Magical Girl recently, so I have no clue, but I know there's two that came out this season, so I don't think it's that dry. Like
I mean,
there's a new Precure this season and there's a
I
new
mean, when
quadrivium.
Magical Girl was the shit, was like around the 2010s in my. I mean, there's the obvious Sailor Moon era where everybody wanted to be a Magical Girl series, and then in the early 2000s, you had things like Shigokara, and you had things like I'm gonna need a refresher because I'm gonna keep forgetting. I tend to remember more of the Madoka Magica era of all these shows trying to be like Madoka Magica, like Yuki Yuna is a hero and a lot of the other dark Magical Girl, like Magical Girl Rising Project. I definitely haven't watched a lot of the older Magical Girl series like Cutie Honey and stuff like that.
I mean, I never really thought I'd get into Magical Girl, but now that I have started watching it, I think overall it's a really nice break from shit like Shonen, because like it's the same kind of idea, I guess, with the protagonist having to save the day and fight, but it has a lot more of a welcoming aesthetic. Like if you watch Naruto, it's like filled with fucking angst and edge and shit. Like Sasuke's out here, you know.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
Fuck you, Naruto. But with Magical Girl, there's sparkles and hearts and all that shit everywhere. So it's a lot more welcoming, I think.
Yeah, it definitely helps a lot with the shoujo genre with its better to give the shoujo genre a better edge. Like I said, I didn't join the anime fandom until after Sailor Moon was not after like until like the big three showed up. So Sailor Moon was already off Toonami by that point. And I did watch Sailor Moon later on its own, but like I noticed there's like online and on YouTube there's like a big audience of Magical Girl fans who's watched a lot of the older shit like Magical Princess Milkimono or Tokyo Mew Mew, which I did not watch on 4Kids. I'm sorry. I didn't watch Utena either. I also did not watch Cardcaptor Sakura yet. I need to watch it. I was more somebody who watched Pre-Tier. I watched Pre-Tier, which is probably the oldest Magical Girl show I've seen. I've watched Symphogear. Like Symphogear was a sci-fi Magical Girl I watched. I watched that one about the Magical Girl about the space, like the Pleiadians one, which was boring in my opinion. Magical Girl Raider, like that's an era of shoujo I was just not a part of. But I feel like there's a lot of more love. I'm more of a new age kid when it comes to it, like Little Witch Academia. Precure is like the one anomaly. We'll get to Precure when we get. I want to talk about Precure when we get to kids anime. The one exception to the rule in both Magical Girls and kids anime, cause goddamn.
I love Precure. I've only seen like half of 2 seasons. I saw a bit of Feeling Good Precure and I saw a bit of Mahotsukai Precure, but I'd say just like the production quality of every Precure is so good. It's like so worth watching. Like the music's insane, animation's really fucking good. Like everything about the Precures are, just really polished and well done for pretty much every single season of it.
Yeah, like when I was a teenager, like Princess Tutu and Shugakara were probably one of the few first animes I watched as well. And man, Princess Tutu made me cry. I love Princess Tutu, and I thought that the Magical Girls genre could do no wrong. And then Shugachara is one of the very, 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 very few Magical Girls shows that actually have magical boy transformations that are dope as fuck.
Yeah.
Which you don't see that often. And it was for a time in that era in that mid 2000s era, everything was coolio, man. And then Madoka Magica happened. It's like, I feel like once Madoka Magica just tried to drop its landmine onto the animeverse, Magical Girls were not the same. In a good way, and in a bad way. Like, it started the era of dark Magical Girls shit. Like, it all had to be edgy. There had to be a battle or a death game. They had to talk about the price of becoming a magical girl. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I mean, Madoka Magica definitely, like, as someone who wasn't there for Magical Girl at the time, looking back, I can definitely see that Madoka Magica has had very large influence on Magical Girl just because of how often I saw it without even knowing what it is. Like, it's definitely the most prominent Magical Girl anime.
I keep saying this, I'm gonna be that person in the room. I felt like we were overinflated as the Anitube community when Madoka was at its height, because it felt like if you wanted to watch you just couldn't watch a normal Magical Girl show unless it was Sailor Moon back during that era and be taken seriously. It had to be Magical Girl with an edge or Magical Girl with a philosophical point. We kind of lost that, and that kind of made me sad. We kind of lost that casually with Magical Girl series.
I think that's a bit of a problem to do with elitism, I'd say, because, people will tell you, I guess in this scenario, it's kind of like saying which Magical Girls are the good ones and which Magical Girls are the, bad ones, just purely off of, is it taking itself really seriously, or is it just like a fun time? Like a lot of times, same thing goes with Slice of Life, I'd say. That's why a lot of people, I say, probably don't really want to watch this, because they don't really take themselves too seriously. They're not telling insanely compelling, like, intense stories. It's just kind of a good time to watch. So,
one thing I did notice about older Magical Girl series, especially Cardcaptor Sakura, this is more of like a shoujo genre thing in general, was that its emphasis on like the girl growing up in terms of love. Her main love interest in the beginning of most series were like an older gentleman who was already well established. And I had to think, and I thought hard about like Cardcaptor Sakura. I didn't watch much of it, but when she first liked her
Yukito-san?
Yeah, Yukito-san, I was like, It makes you think, because that was very common with older shoujo anime, with girls being the like young girls being the protagonist. They always had a love interest that was way older than them.
I don't think Yukito was too much older. I'm pretty sure I don't think it was more than like 4 years.
Yeah, but like they're like well established. They're like already like businessmen, or like I know they have like a more like a Oni-chan or like dad role. So I get why you would include. I get why it would be a love conflict that doesn't go anywhere. It's obvious it wouldn't go anywhere. And
Also, it's
it's
Japan. They don't really give a fuck about that shit.
yeah, it's also Japan. They don't give a little fuck about it.
No, give me.
But like,
Well, I want to tell a romance. Let's make it a 5-year-old who meets a 40-year-old, and it's love at first sight.
yes. But yeah, when Madoka Magica came on the landscape, it's like I feel like we kind of missed a good chunk of what could possibly normal Magical Girl stuff at the time. And now now there's not many Magical Girl stuff coming out right now.
I mean,
It's all
Precure is pretty
isekai.
reliable for that.
Precure is reliable, but again, that's part of the kids anime thing, and we'll get to it. I gotta talk Precure. No, we're talking about fucking Precure soon, like real soon. It's just we'll get to it. Hey guys, we got all the popular stuff done, so let's talk now about this next section. We're gonna kind of do more of an a la carte to kind of move things along faster.
Speed round.
Speed round. So section number 3 is about normal genres that get talked about often, but they're just not the popular ones. Like you could still talk about them relatively to get inside the audience on Anitube, or just with your friends. You'd probably like them depending on what your friends would like, but they're kind of in the middle. They're not unpopular, but they're not super popular. So the following would be mystery, action, adventure not tied to shonen anime, psychological horror, Yuri and yaoi.
Yeah.
It is popular, but I think I put it here for its nicheness. Post-apocalyptic anime like Girls Last Tour and Humanity Has Declined. Romance, like I put romance here. Yeah, romance is just normal. So like this is like your school romances and all that stuff, like School Rumble and stuff. Artsy anime. These are like anime that are trying to say some type of artistic point, or they make you think, they make you go and sci-fi / fantasy. So who wants to pick one first? Cause
I haven't really seen too much mystery anime, but I'm pretty sure Promised Neverland would be considered a mystery anime, and
it's psychological horror.
Whichever one it is, that show's fucking dope.
Would we count Detective Conan as mystery?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, that was one I watched.
I mean, it's a psychological like a lot of. I want to disclaimer this. I know it's way late in the video, but obviously anime are gonna have a multitude of tags. They're not just gonna be one thing and that's it. Promised Neverland, for example, is a mystery psychological horror.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna have all that. Has that shit, but I'm just kind of made them all separately to kind of like outline things. For example, the reason I put sci-fi and fantasy together is that they represent a lot of the older eras in animedom. Like there's the 90s fantasy boom. You'll hear people like me and a lot of older Anitubers who are around that time talk about. Again, I didn't get into anime till later, but I do remember and have watched a lot of anime back in the day from that fantasy boom that didn't have really any like game mechanics, like Slayers. The Slayers was my jam. And then in the 2000s, like the fantasy market crashed, and then we had lots of sci-fi anime like Psychopaths, which had a lot of intrigue and things, or Space Brothers, which is kind of sci-fi. I mean, it's Space Brothers, so
I still need to watch Psychopaths. I think out of all these genres, we need more yaoi.
It depends.
Yuri can fuck off. Yeah, yaoi can stay.
There's definitely a lot more Yuri than there is yaoi anime, or maybe
Exactly.
that's just me.
That's what I'm saying. Why do they get all love? It's fucked up.
It's probably
the irony is I would call Yuri on Ice a yaoi, and you have both of those words in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's some meta fucking shit. That is meta.
Oh, wow. I didn't think about that. Wow, Lamp. Wow.
That's the most bait thing ever, dude. You're like, Yuri on Ice? Hell yeah. And they start watching it, it's a bunch of dudes kissing.
Which I
haven't actually seen Yuri on Ice.
I was totally into that. I was like, wait, come on, guys. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Now there's romance.
Yeah, no. Homosexuality is fucking sick. Don't at me, or I'll break your jaw.
Love Stage was cute. I loved Love Stage.
I watched like 3 episodes of Love Stage, and I just forgot to keep watching it, so...
It's very cute. Episode 2 gets me. I have issues. I have like certain issues with episode 2 with the couch scene. But other than that, I thought it was cute. I also fucking called a ship in there, but I'm not gonna spoil it.
Don't
but I
spoil
called
it. I'm gonna watch it one day.
Post-apocalyptic anime is very specific. Like, I feel like there's
I don't think
like
I've
the
seen any,
like
honestly.
there's like post-apocalyptic as it sounds. It's like anime that takes place after all of humanity has died out, and there might be a
Dr. Stone?
yeah, kind of. Yeah, you could probably put it as post-apocalyptic. I mean, that's what it is. But like, I'm thinking about things like Girls' Last Tour, where like there's only a few humans left on Earth, and there's no hope for things to like get better. But you know, you kind of live with what you got. And humanity has declined. I swear to God, not many people have watched that series. You gotta watch that series. That series is such a big what the fuck. I love that series to death. It's one of my personal favorite animes ever. And I love Humanity Has Declined. It's just so goddamn weird. It makes you think about a lot of things. It's about a girl who's one of the last human representatives ever, and she is basically tasked with being a mediary between the last living humans and the fairies, who are basically becoming the majority race to replace humans because they're becoming the human majority replacement. There's like so many like weird shits that happen. Like, I'm not saying anything about it other than go watch it. Episode 1 will be the deciding factor. Just that. That's because that's more of like a new genre. I feel like that's been talked about more on Anitube. It's gotten more nuanced than just simply, hey, it's zombies, or hey, we're all gonna die. I have not watched a lot of artsy anime other than like the Satoshi Kon movies.
I haven't watched any artsy anime, I don't think. Nor post-apocalyptic. Definitely seen the rest though.
Yeah,
I don't think there really is even too many post-apocalyptic shows. Like Girls' Last Tour was the only one I'd heard of before.
I would have to look it up, but just for time's sake, I think like, what's a strong one for me? A strong series for me that I can think of on top of my head, besides action and adventure, which is now we can get into, this is where JoJo's would come in. So there, let's ask the question, boys. Do you guys think so? Obviously, I don't think JoJo is a shonen. It's
I
definitely
don't either.
it's an action adventure series, obviously.
Hmm.
And it's also in the same kind of camp that One Punch Man is in. I don't think One Punch Man is a shonen either.
I don't think One Punch Man is a shonen. I would almost say that JoJo has a lot of comedy in it too, or like just like overall as a genre. I watch a lot of it just for like laughs.
I mean, yeah, the demographic could relate to shonens, but it doesn't have like, it's like what Taku's video said about shonen anime. I don't see One Punch Man or JoJo's as a shonen. He's right. They're more action adventure comedies that really, really hit home on certain aspects. And I feel like those are a good like contenders when you think of just solely action adventures. Again, it's another example of shonen just kind of washing over everything. Mystery is the weird one because there's the obvious mystery anime like Detective Conan and Lupin the Third, but which you can argue may or may not be leaning on mystery, depend on what you think. But it's also a genre you don't hear much about by itself. It always has to be with something. It always has to be with like a psychological horror, or it cannot be a mystery by itself.
I don't know what the anime is called, but it's like that dude who I don't know, it's a dude who meets a girl outside the fucking White House, and he has like that phone that has like unlimited money.
Oh, Eden
You
of the
just do
East.
whatever. Eden of the East, yeah.
Eden of the East.
Is that a mystery?
I mean, yeah, it is. You got. I mean,
So,
it
yeah.
it has mystery as a tag. It's not by
That was
itself.
I haven't watched it in a long time, but that was definitely my first mystery anime, and I remember like after watching that, I was just like, you know, that feeling where you're like, Jesus Christ, I'm not gonna find another anime like that for a while. I got that feeling from it.
It was an
That one is like an
experience.
almost must watch.
Eden of the East is a very, very, very
It makes you want to be a
must-watch.
billionaire. It really does.
Yeah, just fucking people over for the sake
I
of
wish
it.
I could cause a fucking car accident by calling somebody.
Mhm.
There's cops on me. Yeah, can you fucking, I don't know, kill like 3 families so they don't catch up to me? All right,
I
thank
mean,
you.
There's also like animes like Ghostic, which has like that's the thing. Mystery I haven't seen a mystery by itself in a long time. It always has to be with some type of companion genre. I know Clamp School Detectives is obviously a mystery anime. That's the whole point is a club about solving like Scooby Doo like mysteries. I like that one. And another thing, let's see, what else is here that's like kind of here? Psychological horrors, I kind of steer away from. I got so tired of all the Punishment Game anime. They got annoying.
I can't deal with horror or like gore or anything to do with that. So anything, any kind of psychological horror, other than like, I guess Promise Neverland, I tend to avoid.
I watched Shiki
Like-
because Shiki was more about was more symbolic than anything. But keep going. Sorry.
I was that fucking kid in elementary school where like everyone's like, "Oh, dude, I watched the new Saw movie. It was crazy. My mom let me watch it." And I was like, "Man, why the fuck would you want to watch that?" It's like no matter what kind of, if it has to do anything with horror, I will have nightmares about it. Even
Yes.
to this day, I'm 20 years old. I'll fucking cry myself to sleep.
Yes, join us. Join us in the Scaredy. I am a proud card-carrying member of the Scaredy Cat fan club. I will not touch. You can't pay me to review an anime that's about too much horror. I will not watch Higurashi for the life of me. You
Yeah,
could
don't
not pay me
touch
to
that
review
shit.
it. Can do it. I know it's the horror anime to do. It's the horror darling that's getting a reboot, but I don't fucking care. I'm steering clear about it. I am that girl who will gladly watch the kids in a Charlie Brown themed Halloween. They ain't doing it. Nope. Nope. So that's why, like, when it comes to like psychological horror game anime, I could watch them more because it was more than just about the horror. But it was so stupid half the time, and it was so edgelordy. King's Game. What's another anime about like a punishment game? This is why I can't really get into Danganronpa. I mean, I probably could get into Danganronpa or like the Lost Village, but like the people are just so dumb in the anime to just believe in just like certain or Dead Tube. That's more of a manga, but it
It's
has the same
YouTube's
aesthetic.
sequel.
Yes. It has the same idea, like super edgy story about a loser guy who ends up in a situation, or like a semi-popular dude that ends up in a situation and his friendships are tested with a game that if they don't make it, they die. So like it's more of a Saw thing. Let's see. Other than that, like, Lamp, do you got anything for any of the genres we mentioned today in this section?
I really don't have enough experience with. I mean, Detective Conan, for example, is one of the only ones. Like, I mean, aside from the main ones, I really haven't had that many anime that would qualify as like, outliers. I guess I've said I really had to say because I don't have the rest of them. Just kind of like, yeah, I watched them, but not enough to know.
Casually, like, I watched a fuck ton of mysteries when I was younger. The Clamp School Detectives, Tatami Galaxy. No, Tatami Galaxy was not the name of that mystery show. There was a mystery show about this kid with monochromatic hair who was in this like government like club who he and his club friends would solve mysteries around the country. And like I remember like Sherlock Holmes based watching shows were just more prominent back then. I watched a shit ton of those and they were kind of fun, but I know they've not been like the most popular type thing. That's why I kind of put it here. But they weren't like the genres though that we don't talk about. It's definitely if there's a lot of insight. It's definitely like these genres in general. Would you say that a lot of these genres are genres that Anitube would talk about if they're passionate enough about it?
I'd say
Yeah.
a lot of these genres are kind of like really general, so I think they're gonna pretty much, you can pick any of these genres and they will be paired up with one of the other genres that we've talked about.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say like there's too many shows that are purely based on mystery. They typically have other aspects to them. Same thing goes with romance.
Or like the biggest aspect is mystery, because
Yeah.
pretty much every anime nowadays has multiple tags. That's just gonna be how it is.
Exactly, yeah. Like these genres are very like extremely generalized. So I think if you're going to make like you wouldn't really be able to make a video on an action adventure anime because it would be more than just action adventure, because like 50% of anime is action adventure.
I mean, tell that to the JoJo's fan base, but
True. I mean, I at the same time, I think Jojo focuses a lot more on the comedy. I mean, like I'd say obviously the storyline of it is action slash adventure, but
And
my
the
overall
fights.
viewer, yeah, and the fights obviously, but like my overall viewer experience was one, hype fights and like the whole smart side of it, with all the strategies and shit, and two, the comedy, because like I think that's probably one of the biggest things JoJo is known for, is just like how over the top the comedies comes from, how over the top it is, and like satirical, I guess. It's like a very hyperbole, just on cocaine version of anime.
I mean, you could make a case here for the artsy anime. Things like Monte Cristo and Dusk Maiden of Amnesia, or Tatami Galaxy, or Kaiba, or the Shitoshi Kon movies, about them being Pacific enough. But again, it's like so niche and so
Yeah, I mean, I
feel
guess,
like
in that case it would be like you know, artsy anime would. It's a lot less of a generalized genre, I'd say.
But it's definitely a genre you could talk about on YouTube. Like you could make it's analytical Anitube fodder, which I have my own soapbox about with
I get scared making analytical videos.
Sam. Like
I mean,
I should
I'll
not
still
be
do them
talking about
sometimes, but like,
I should not be getting on my soapbox about analytical content when I don't make that stuff. And I commend people for doing it. It's just that when I think the generalization for me is that when I think of an anime that's easily for them to make content from, it's the artsy anime that I mostly associate them with. I feel like they're the best at being able to talk about that type of nuance. I know that sounds kind of snobby, but
yeah, no, I get what you're saying for sure.
But yeah, the sci-fi fantasy part 1 was simply about the representation of eras, really about, yes, they are generalized, but they do represent like an era of anime fandom that I can remember. But now it's all isekai and show and stuff, so I don't know what to tell y'all.
And fucking rock climbing, god damn it.
And
Just give me
rock-
hockey, please.
Give Noxris a hockey anime. Please, he's gonna die here. Alright, but other than that, is there anything else we want to talk about these generalized genres?
I'm gonna say so. I mean, yeah, no, there's not really too much left to say, I don't think, about them.
I would say something more about Yuri, but besides there being, there's just the rate, it's just there's too many Yuri. But
It's because dudes are horny for girls.
Yeah, but that's all I got as we get to my final anime section of the day. Genres I think don't get talked about much anymore. These could be for various reasons. This could be a generational shift. This could be just a distaste in the genre. This could just be not much of it. So the following that I have are martial arts anime, like Kenichi the Mighty Disciple and the Tenchi series,
That
and
was, I
Airmaster.
think, whatever Disciple one you said is...
Kenshi the Mighty Disciple.
Yeah, is it old? Like, not
Yeah, it's
super
old.
old, but like...
It's
2010s,
old, but not
2000s.
no, not. Oh, it's not like 2010. It's like 2000s, man.
Yeah, early 2000s. I was thinking like 08. I'm pretty sure that was one of the first anime I watched when I was first, like, probably my second or third anime. And that was probably what kind of hooked me in on it, I think.
Yeah, then we have music. I put music anime in here that isn't. I specifically said music anime that isn't idol anime, like Beck, Carolyn Tuesday, and Kids on the Slope. I mean, I know in 2020 we're talking more about them now, but we're talking more about as an individual show than than because of the music genre itself. Then we have Shoujo Ai and Shonen Eyes. I think mostly because I mostly put Shoujo and Shonen Eyes here for the sole reason that it's hard to spot them nowadays. You either go big or go home when it comes to LGBT content. You either go full yaoi yuri with it, or you go bromance with it, where it's just a lot of alluding.
What does the I at the end of it mean?
Shoujo and Shonen Ai are simply like, the best they do is like holding hands and kissing, like really, really light stuff in their relationship. They don't really go as far as like with yaoi and yuris where it could get into full on smut.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna watch an anime if they're not full on raw dogging, so I'm out.
Oh my god! they'll Shonen Eyes will they'll be more obvious at alluding to a romance and focus more on the emotional aspect of the romance, but they won't do anything like heavily smut, is what I'm basically saying. You're not gonna get any hentai smut in it. Maybe heavily kissing, but
yeah, get some tongue action.
No, there's not gonna probably be tongue. It's probably gonna be like
that's fucking lame.
It's probably gonna be like just a cute, sweet, wholesome kiss.
It sounds like a good time, but I feel like if I went through an entire series and the climax of it was a fucking peck on the cheek, I'd be pretty pissed.
The first thing Shonen Ai I can think of on top of my head without even looking for it is Gates in Heaven. That's a Shonen Ai. And that's definitely a romance anime between a lot of dudes at a boys' school. It's just, You don't really get much from that. There's also Princess. Oh, that's nostalgia right there. But that's all. That's in a weird spot. And then we get to reverse harems, which reverse harems. Compared to its normal harem counterpart, reverse harems just don't get much love nowadays if they aren't an isekai. That's just been the matter of fact. It's really hard to like talk about modern isekai nowadays. All my remembrances of good isekai have been reverse harems, have been from older anime like Oron and Amnesia, and I mean Amnesia's okay, but it's not like that. But like reverse harems are things it's another one of those, I talk about the older shit, but it's really hard to talk about the newer shit. There's not many good ones that aren't tied to isekai, and the ones that aren't are so boring and plain. I feel like the genre is on life support at this point. I really worry about that genre.
I don't even think I've seen any reverse harems.
Oh.
I don't even what would differentiate
Y'all ain't
reverse
seen
harem.
Auron?
Huh?
Y'all ain't seen Auron High School?
like
no,
how-
but in drama class in grade 6, I had to play a character from it because my weeb friend at the time was doing that for her project, and she needed a side character.
Which one? Which one were you?
I don't remember. I was in like 6th grade.
Oh yeah, I was
Damn.
gonna say if you don't.
That was a solid decade ago.
I would say you're probably one of the twins, to be honest. You're definitely
Whichever
not
one's cutest.
the
Whichever one's
cutest
the best.
one.
The best one is
Cute-
me.
Cutest was Honey. He was like the oldest one of the group, but he looked the youngest one, and he could do taekwondo and jujitsu and
That's pretty down to earth for me because I'm like 20 and I still get ID'd everywhere I go. Except for Toronto for some fucking reason where the legal age is higher. They didn't ID me once. But yeah, I still look like a 13-year-old.
But yeah, like when it comes to reverse harems, I feel like the genre is on life support because I don't see any new anime really being made about it if it's not by the Chinese. And
Made in
and-
China reverse harem.
yeah, I've seen the Chinese reverse harem. I didn't really like it much, and it's just not much new shit. If I saw like a few hoseis that tried to bring the genre back and make new anime from it, I've seen more of them go the route of, if it's not isekai, they just make a really good hosei romance between two 30-year-olds. Like the one about the online game couple, which was cute. Oh, that was a really cute anime. I forgot its name. I'll put that up on the screen. But anyway, I'm gonna keep going. And the last anime I want to talk about is kids anime, or the official term for it, Kodomuke. And this is where Precure would go in. So if we're talking about kids anime, we're talking about your card game anime, we're talking about your Doraemons, which is the type of anime you don't really hear about on Anitube. You just don't hear about that much. And then you have the exception to the rule is Precure. So Noxris, why the hell is everyone talking about Precure recently?
I don't fucking know. The Hayden showed it to me and I think it's cool.
I mean,
I
it
don't
is
know.
cute.
I don't know why people are making or talking about Precure a lot. Maybe it's just a rebooted interest in Magical Girl, and that's like, I'd say, very traditional and safe Magical Girl. And
It's
like I was
not
saying
even traditional or safe. Like, there's Magical Girl for the rest of the papas, and then there's kids anime Magical Girl. Here's the thing. Kids anime gets dark sometimes. Surprisingly, there's a lot of dark kids anime.
Who dies?
Like Digimon Season 3. God damn, it goes there. It goes there with Digimon Season 3 with and Yokai Watch. Like one of the main characters has to deal with their parents going through a fucking divorce right in front of him.
How the fuck are they putting divorces into children's anime?
Yeah,
What?
Yeah. No. Actually, it
That's
was
the most
phrased.
fucked
It was
thing ever.
phrased. It was phrased as, it wasn't that necessarily the parents actually having a disagreement. It was a spirit that was haunting them.
Yeah, it was a
That's
spirit,
still
alright.
fucked. How are
I
you
mean-
gonna put a divorce into a kid show? Oh my god.
I want to let me talking about kids anime for a bit. Like, it's probably the genre in this list that's the most interesting because kids anime gets real dark. Doremi got dark later on. Like, it started really nice as a Magical Girl show, and then it got real dark. it went there for a kid show. Like, and then we talk about all the scenes in Pokemon with like the gun, like the gun episode that got banned, or the episode with James's boobs that got banned.
Yeah, the only natural progression that kids anime shows can take now is getting a bit darker with their stories, like having
going a
their
bit
parents fall
real.
into alcoholism and break up, and have his
And-
parents be jailed, stuff
Yeah.
like that. Really teach the kids of today a lot of things about today's
And then
world.
there's like
joking.
the OVA about, and there's the kids OVA about puberty, which I have on DVD.
What fucking Big Mouth?
No, it's an anime. It's a 3-episode OVA about teaching your kids about puberty. We're talking about periods. The first episode is about having a period. The second episode is about, sex, talking about sex from like an actual kid's perspective. And the third anime is about, like liking boys for, more than just, hey, I like to play ball games with them.
Ball games.
Ball games. Ball games. I don't know why that came out, but ball games.
That's some, good word choice there.
I mean, obviously, as Noxris, you and Canada, did you guys have like a lot? Was there like a big thing for like the card gaming anime and the like just the gaming anime in general, like Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, Vanguard?
Okay, so as weird of a name it sounds, Dragon, you motherfucker, if you're watching this, I will never forgive you for how many times you beat me in Yu-Gi-Oh at the fucking launch table. You can fuck off and cut your hair. But yeah, no, I watched Yu-Gi-Oh, and what actually got me to like look into anime was when I was playing Minecraft, and I met someone on there and he talked about anime, and the first anime he ever recommended me was Cardfight Vanguard. Ironically, my first ever introduction to anime was through card game anime.
I mean, here in the States, for us, it would like Yu-Gi-Oh was the shit. It still is the shit, but it's definitely gone down in quality. Like, there's a debate whether season 2 or 3 is the best season. Well, season 3 has a better story, and while I still prefer season 3, I do admit I remember much more from season 2 than anything else. God, season 2. God, it goes weird. But yeah, then there's just the anime in the middle that's like not Precure, and not like a card game anime, but like things like Doraemon that just never got picked up here. They weren't really that popular.
Never heard of Doraemon. Sounds like
Doraemon's a
Pokemon,
classic.
except with doors.
You never saw the big blue cat mascot?
No.
Who's pretty iconic. You should look at least the picture of it. Like it's a pretty big deal for that character in kids
I watched
anime.
that show back. I actually watched that show back in my childhood back in Thailand.
Ooh.
You're
The
from
Doraemon was one of those shows
Thailand?
I watched.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I lived there for the first 9 years of my life. But I used to watch Doraemon back there because they would have it Thai dubbed, and I would watch that.
I mean,
Fucking sick.
Yeah.
I mean, for obvious
Doraemon's pretty
reason,
good.
I can see why kids anime doesn't get talked about because it's kids anime. But Precure.
It's the same thing.
Precure, what the fuck? Why out of all of them, Precure just had a big resurgence all of a sudden.
I honestly think it's just like the production value of everything in Precure is so good.
I've heard that.
I think it's the same argument that a lot of people. I mean, like, I don't give a shit if you're a brony or watch My Little Pony or anything, but like, people feel the need to defend themselves, and they will defend themselves by saying that My Little Pony has really good animation. I'd say Precure is almost worth watching purely just for like the visuals of it alone. Like, maybe not the whole series if you're not really fucking with the story too much, but I definitely think it's worth it to give a shot for everybody. Just, the visuals are fucking amazing.
And then that brings me to like martial arts anime, which honestly, it was big in the 2000s. It was a big genre like street fighting. There was like a huge market for like watching dudes fight each other. More recently, when I say recently, I think it's like late 2000s or early 2010s. There's this anime called Bento, which is about people, which is no joke, about a guy who gets into this, who starts a club or like starts a pastime in school, going with his friends to the local grocery store every day, every night, and beating the living shit out of other shoppers to get the best bento in the back of the store. I love that anime. People gotta. Yeah, and it has a dub, and the dub is great. I love Austin Tyndall as the main dude. Like the dude, like the thing is funny as shit. Martial arts anime is just fun to watch, man.
I really like martial arts anime purely for the fact of like it's a lot more grounded to reality in a sense. Like obviously it still is fiction and has hyperbole to it, so it's like
yeah,
entertaining, but like it's not like fucking Dragon Ball where people are powering up and throwing kamehamehas everywhere, right? Like it's
yeah.
you watch it and I guess it's kind of the same thing for sports anime. Like, you know, you're watching it, you're getting inspired, and everything that you see do, you can, translate and do in real life. Like if you're really inspired enough by a character who just trains hard and fucks shit up and is now just like untouchable fighter, like technically you can do that too. If you're really that inspired by it, uh, you can go train and become like a ridiculously good fighter. Uh,
Mhm.
as well as like just like the whole mental aspect to it. Like a lot of shonen, I guess, and those fights are a lot of them do have strategy to it, but they're less focused on strategy and more just focused on who has more power. Fucking horsepower of the human. But with something like martial arts, uh, especially if it's like a more traditional one, they'll delve a bit more into like actual like Hajime Ippo, going into mental states of fighting, uh, you know actual fighting techniques and the strategies behind it. And I think
Yeah.
that's really cool, getting to actually see like, the person versus person aspect of fighting rather than just power levels fighting.
And then you have like
It's mind
street fighting,
games.
which is all about like street cred and like territories and like for example, Kenichi the Mightiest Disciple was about a kid who got bullied a lot and he didn't want to be bullied anymore to protect him and his little sister. So he joined a dojo to just protect himself, and then it spiraled into this whole thing about him just trying not get punched. Like the moment he started fighting back, people just kept coming and wouldn't leave him alone. And eventually he had to create his own group just to stop things from happening. And I found that show to be so highly inspirational but funny at the same time because he got cucked by the female lead so long. And like in the article, it was stated that the Kenichi creator was really scared of writing a romance for Kenichi, so he never went through with it. He just made it a more comedic thing every time he tried to like go towards the female character. And I'm like, wow, that's more cold-footed than a lot of other shonens.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest parts why that show is particularly inspirational is because like a not common story, but it's definitely something that's happened to many people in real life where they'll get bullied and they start doing martial arts so they can protect themselves. Like the best or arguably best fighter in the world, George St. Pierre. That's exactly how his story started. He didn't start fighting to fight. He started fighting to defend himself because he got picked
Mm-hmm.
on so much. So, you know, the more traditional martial arts anime are definitely more grounded in reality, and I think that's what makes them so entertaining as opposed to things like Dragon Ball or like Naruto. While they are still
Mm-hmm.
entertaining,
They're down to earth
it's
and they're easy to
it's
relate to.
while it's obviously a ton of fun watching those fucking like ridiculous superpower animes where they're fucking like destroying half of the planet with their fights. It's also a lot of fun to see like the intricacies of a real fight that traditional martial arts anime brings.
Mm-hmm. But it's also sad because I feel like that's also why it's not talked about in anime anymore, in Anitube as much anymore. Besides the fact that like straight street fighting anime there's not been many new ones coming out. It's because it is grounded in reality. Like there's no superpowers or super like things to do. It has the same mentality as a sports anime. You gotta really hard sell it, but it doesn't have the push that Anitubers have done with sports anime because there's not new stuff coming out for it. I was just gonna say it's definitely gone out of fashion to make a new martial arts anime.
I wish they made more martial arts anime. I mean, the closest things I can think of that would be more traditional, so I would be like something like Baki or I guess God of High School. But even those are like just way unrealistic with how ridiculously strong their opponents are. But it's still not to the point where they're charging their fucking ki blasts and taking out an entire city. At least, I mean, I don't know for God of High School. I'm not that far in it yet.
Lamp, do you got anything else to say on that subject?
Nope, that's pretty much the same thing I had in mind. I want to say that martial arts anime could be improved somewhat, but I think with the current trend they're going with, I think it's becoming less martial arts and more how close can we get to Dragon Ball Z, which sets a really weird precedent for any other martial arts anime. Just on top of my head, like God of High School is like it's half Dragon Ball Z, half fighting.
Yeah, there's no transformations, but they're like Like,
They're
this
still doing things that
motherfucker's
are not
this
physically
motherfucker's literally
possible.
chasing a goddamn biker who's just like flying through intersections on a pedal bike.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
the
It's like,
fuck?
guys, you pull it back a bit. Like, make it a real. Give us a kendo anime.
I mean, no.
A
To be
simple
fair,
kendo anime.
watching
There is
God
a
of, like, I
kendo anime.
fucking
Oh, there
love
is.
that scene. I love what God of High School is doing because like they didn't just make it like, oh, this character's so cool because he's super strong. They made it like he's ridiculously fucking strong, but it makes it like a comedy aspect because he's kind of dumb so far too, and he's just like kind of relatable in the way that he's very empathetic to that old lady. And I don't know, I didn't see it as much of a bad thing as much as I was just dying of laughter watching that whole fucking thing. 'Cause they just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, as I was like, he's chasing a guy on a motorbike. That's impossible. And they turned it up a notch with some other crazy shit. Like, it just kept on going up. Like, these motherfuckers are standing on each other's shoulders, riding a pedal bike, chasing a motorbike.
Oh, yeah. That's
And,
pretty much it, though.
that's within the first 5 minutes of the first fucking episode, by the way. A solid 5 minutes later, you're already in the first fucking tournament arc. So yeah, that show does not fuck around when it comes to its pacing.
No. Also, Lamp, the answer to your question is Bamboo Blade. Bamboo Blade is a kendo anime.
Oh.
It's a cute girls do cute things club show about kendo.
Oh, I'm talking about like a not like almost straight laced plain kendo. Like almost like you're watching like an actual show about kendo, but it's just anime. Like,
So it's
I
a
don't know.
sports anime. I mean, kendo's a sport. Like,
I thought it was more. I guess martial arts. Both.
when I
Kinda.
say martial arts, I mean you fight other people and bad guys and like street fighting where like you're fighting an
Oh.
enemy. I mean, you could put like I'm not thinking of the sports anime variety. I'm thinking about
Okay.
you're
I thought
fighting
you,
for
like,
your
meant, like-
life.
Okay, never mind. Then yeah, I was thinking like martial arts, like a contact sport thing.
Nah, cause there's probably plenty of like sports that are like
Yeah, that's fair.
the only there's not much else I want to say about the section besides music. All I want to say, it really depends on the music of the anime. That's about all I'm gonna say about that section. Anyway, we've gotten, I knew this was gonna be a large ass episode because we were going through different genres, and again, Shonen was a goddamn girthy section because it had to be done. But anyway, I think that's gonna be about it for today's monthly CCP. Once again, Noxris, thank you for coming on as always.
Thank you for having me. It was my first time doing this type of thing, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, pleasure's all mine.
Yeah, so once again, can you remind people about where they can find you on Twitter or like your social media, and like again what you do, and recommend any videos you want people to watch?
I'd say the fishing anime or the racing anime videos are probably my favorite, just because they're probably the most varied and just entertaining to watch. You can find me under the name Noxris pretty much anywhere, NOXRIS on Twitter. I made an Instagram recently, but I'm not really on that too much. Obviously my YouTube channel. That's pretty much all I really got. I got a Patreon, but same
can
thing,
show your
Noxris.
All right, Noxris.
Go support the Patreon.
And go support our Patreon. I mean,
Yes.
we got a full $5 on there. Hey.
Hey.
Let's
Hey.
fucking go. Yeah, sub to this channel. Sub to Misfit.
Yeah, sub to us, like, comment, and subscribe. I gotta say the baritone thing about, hey, most people that watch this channel aren't subscribed. You should subscribe. That's the new trend I see on YouTube now.
Oh,
But anyway,
fuck, we forgot to mention to like the video 5 minutes in. Shit.
like the video, like your 7-Elevens at 4 a.m., not the 3
There you
a.m.
go.
like you.
I forgot we even talked about that. I thought that was yesterday. God damn, my sleep schedule's fucked up.
Woo! Either way, and now without further ado, Lamp, Noxris, let's get the fuck out of here. Goodbye.
Ooh,
Have a good one, boys.